bigger screens. You used to use a tiny one.
I didn't do it.
Yes.
Your screen's white.
You'd be able to expand that one out.
Did you understand what the mayor said?
No.
But
No, they've replaced, they used to have
Yeah,
those tiny
the
ones.
tablets,
Yeah.
yes.
9.8 probably.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
very happy
Yes,
that
it is.
they got us.
Yeah,
They're better.
yeah,
That's
I'll just start scrolling through
I
it.
just
I think it's the variance.
had nothing but trouble with that other tablet they gave me.
Yeah.
Someone says to me,
Is the variance.
what,
Here's Amy.
you gotta, wanna go buy
There's one where.
Yeah, I talked to
Microsoft
They
should
tried.
not be in the home
They
business.
said they
Okay.
tried to make it.
the owner, the applicant can't be on it.
Okay.
It's not an iPad, it's not.
No, it's some
That'll give us
strange
time anyway to hold it.
Exactly,
Yeah, I did.
exactly.
What'd you get today,
Yeah,
Miss?
well,
Tammy's in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the fire, so.
Ethics done well.
taking all Kathy's spot now too.
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
Now here.
I know, spread out. Yeah. We know it. Connect to that page. Oh. I'll start as soon as the city attorney gets back in.
Who needs an attorney, right?
Basically everybody.
Yeah, really.
They're expendable.
Inexpensive.
Yeah,
But you gotta have one.
And that's the truth.
when you need them, you really need them.
Yep.
Tammy, you need to give him a hard time.
Yeah. I was talking about it back there. There he goes.
There it is. Man, I don't know where he's at. Must be playing around somewhere. Oh, there he is.
Whit, where have you been?
Okay, we can start now. So I'm going to call the regular city council meeting of July the 16th, 2019 to order at 7:33. So we are now in order. I need to call the roll. First thing, Councilmember Nakamura.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood.
Here.
Councilmember Wheat is out of town. Her daughter is in the state championships of diving competition, so we wish her luck, so she's not here tonight. The mayor is here. Councilmember Dodson.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Rigney.
Here.
So before we have the indication, I have some sad news I wanted to relate to everybody, so everyone knows this. Unfortunately, Councilmember Dodson, George and Vonnie Dodson's son passed away last week. So it was a very sad occurrence. I really appreciate George being here. I told him it was not necessary, but I think he wanted to be busy. So we're sad. And Pastor Dale Modlin of First Colleyville is going to open in our invocation. So Pastor, if you would include the Dodsons, we'd really appreciate it. I believe you're pastor at the church he attends, so. Sure. Let's all stand.
Father God, we love you. We thank you for entrusting that which you created to us to steward and to take care of, Father. So I just pray for these councilmen and women tonight as they make decisions regarding what you have given to us, Father. I just pray that they do that in a way that glorifies and honors you. Father, we also lift up to you Councilman George and his wife Vonnie and their family, and just in their loss of their son. Father, we just pray that you bless them with an extra measure of mercy and grace and comfort and peace at this time, Father. May we, as a city, as those who are their friends and those who surround them, may we comfort them with the love that it can only emulate that which Christ gave to us. We ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I thank all of you for attending tonight. Those that may be watching on TV, we appreciate you watching. We love it when people participate in the meetings. I always say this, but we have several items on the agenda tonight that have public hearings. And so you're welcome to speak on any of those items. If you would fill a card out in the back, there's cards that you can fill out to indicate which item you'd like to speak on. There's also agendas back there, so you know what agenda item we are on. However, even if you don't fill a card out, I will not close a public hearing without asking, has everyone spoken that would like to? And you may speak, so just give me an indication of that, and I don't want to miss anybody speaking on anything. So with that, we have been in executive session immediately before this meeting starts, and agenda item 2, we will move to that now. That's there for the purpose of taking action on items that we've discussed in executive session where necessary. So this is a reading and public hearing of Resolution R-19-4400, a resolution approving council action regarding executive session items at the regular city council meeting of July 16, 2019. Whereas following discussion in executive session and in full accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, the City Council determines that the following action is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the Colleyville City Charter, Section 7.06 reads, there shall be a Department of Finance headed by the city manager or his appointee with the approval of the City Council for an indefinite term. Section 2, that the City Council hereby approves the city manager's appointment of Kyle Lester as the Director of Finance, and it is so resolved. So, Mr. City Manager, you want to?
Assistant City Manager.
Assistant City
Give me a
Manager.
promotion.
Did I say City Manager? You know, we're always,
He's been pushing me out since I got here,
I
so.
know, I'm just,
Not a
I'm
surprise.
getting in the flow.
I can get used to that.
Introduce our new Finance Director.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm pleased to announce to the City of Colleyville Kyle Lester as the new Director of Finance. Kyle comes to us from the City of Weatherford, where he's currently the Finance Director. He's been with the Weatherford since 2012. He's been involved in municipal finance for the last 12 years. Kyle has a MPA, a Master's of Public Administration from UNT. He's also a certified government finance officer. We did a nationwide search. We put out the call for our Director of Finance position. We received applications from all over the country. We feel very fortunate to have landed Kyle. Kyle and his family live actually just right around the corner in Hearst, so he's looking forward to cutting that commute down significantly. But he'll be a great addition to the city. He has some great ideas already that he shared with us, and we look forward to having him here working with our leadership team.
Yeah, we're happy that you're coming. We haven't voted on you yet, but we're getting ready to, so welcome, and thanks for being here. Any other comments from the council? I want to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open. Have no cards because nobody knows this is going to be on the agenda until it happens, but if you want to speak on this, you're welcome to. Anyone wish to speak on this? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. The motion is in order.
Mayor, I'd just like to say one thing for clarity, just before we do that. I've read over his resume really well, and I would like to say that this is a guy that climbed the ladder inside a department, inside the city. He's vested. He's a good employee, it looks like, and we're certainly proud to have him upon our team, so welcome aboard. Yeah. And with that, I'll just ask for approval of Resolution R-19-4400.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood, a second by Council Member Nakamura. So with that, would you open the vote, please, ma'am? Show it when it's ready. That motion is approved, therefore, we have a new finance director. Welcome to the board, thanks. Appreciate you being here tonight. Can everybody hear me okay? Sometimes I back away, I know I get soft, so if I do, wave at me or something. Okay, thanks. Okay, we're going to move to agenda item number 3. That is announcements, proclamations, and presentations. So the first thing we typically do is do announcements, and we always have some. I wanted to comment on State Highway 26 project. The reason is last meeting, July the 2nd, we had invited the area, TxDOT District Area Engineer Min Tran here to give us an update on 26, which she did. However, basically the only information that we got from that presentation, unfortunately, was that they were moving the expected completion date out into the spring. The original date was the end of the year, December of this year. So this was pretty disappointing and not very satisfactory because asked a lot of questions, but we really didn't get any answers other than the dates changing. And so subsequent to that, I sent a letter to Min Tran and copied Gary Fickus, who is the county commissioner, who happens to be a Colleyville resident. Gary is also the chairman of the Regional Transportation Committee. So they control a lot of money that actually goes to TxDOT for roads, and also copied State Senator Beverly Powell and State Representative Giovanni. I subsequently talked to Gary and Beverly personally. I told them that that letter was going out. I'd expect some answers back, and as soon as we got the answers, then depending on what those answers were, there would be additional action that I would choose to take, and asked them if they would be supportive, and they all said they would. I didn't talk to Gio personally. I talked to Amanda, his chief of staff. They all said they would be happy to support that. As a matter of fact, Gary Fickus definitely said he wanted to go with me to meetings that I would intend to have at TxDOT management above trend, should we need to do that. So I wanted to relay that to everyone. So we are certainly not sitting on our hands. We've been very interactive with TxDOT. It's their project. We don't control the project at all. And so we can just apply pressure where we can and talk to them and try to get agreements. The good news is our engineering staff, who is all over this, their opinion is that the project could still be done by the end of the year. So that's our internal opinion. And so I just wanted everyone in town to know that we will be doing everything in our power to try to make that happen, if at all possible. One of the other things that I did talk about when Min was here was the eastern side lanes are actually complete from John McCain down to about Church Street, and would like them opened up as soon as possible. And so we believe that there's going to be a meeting next week to determine if that can be done. I'm looking forward to that being done, to take advantage of what is done as soon as we can. And we had asked for a few other little things to be done, and I think some of those have been done. So anyway, we're engaged, we're committed to do everything we possibly can to make this happen, and I just want to give you a real quick synopsis of what that strategy is. Anything else you want to add, Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
Okay, that's all I want to say right now. Others have comments?
I've never seen you get finished so quickly.
Got us off
I
guard.
wasn't prepared. I apologize for that. Yes, unfortunately, I have some news that last week, a house caught on fire in the Westmont neighborhood near Westcote and McDonald School Road. It happened on July 10th around 7 p.m. after one of our major storm rolled through. We had crews assisting from Grapevine, Keller, North Richland Hills, Hearst, Bedford, and the Westlake Fire Departments. They were all able to get the fire under control quickly. We thank every one of those that came out, and our wonderful fire department. Our chief is over there, and we appreciate all your all's hard work in this heat. It's not easy. The home was evacuated with no injuries, and our Colleyville crew stayed on property until early morning to keep the hot spots from rekindling, which I believe they had a few of those. So they were on there making sure that it didn't get any further. The homeowner said he heard lightning hit the house, and then he saw smoke fill the air. And one of the neighbors also witnessed the lightning strike. It's still under investigation officially as to what it was, but they believe that it was the lightning. And several of the neighbors provided drinks and snacks to the fire crews. that shows how wonderful Colleyville is, and we just appreciate all those. And, of course, we appreciate all you guys coming out and taking care of it.
So I have two. And I'd like to have a recognition or present a recognition of the council and of the city to a local hero. Special Ops Christian C. Schultz, he's a hometown hero, died July the 11th in 2003 during serving Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was 20. He was of Colleyville, Texas, assigned to the 3rd Troop, 67th Armor, Fort Hood. He died on July 11th as a result of non-combat injuries in Iraq. As a youngster, Christian Schultz used to build tanks out of Legos and play games involving tanks. So he had a great time. Then at childhood games involving tanks, he would take camping trips with the Boy Scouts to Fort Hood, where he slept on the range and ate with the soldiers and sealed his dream of joining the military. In quotes, "I had no idea he had been smitten so badly at the time," said his father, Bob Schultz. Special Operations Schultz, a 20-year-old armored crewman from Colleyville, who passed away by non-hostile fire and discharge. He was stationed at Fort Hood. He died on his father's 47th birthday. Schultz joined the Army in 2001 after studying aircraft engineering at the University of Texas in Arlington. For a year, this kid was so adventurous, Bob said. He had a fire lit under his belly, and he wanted to get started. He didn't want to sit in a classroom anymore. He volunteered to serve on the front lines of Iraq and was determined to return as a sergeant, his family said. He planned to serve in the military until age 35. Unfortunately, he passed away. So we have a hometown hero that passed away 2003, just 5 days ago, to represent him. With that being said, we'd like to talk about some hero park enhancements that we'd like to have. Continue our efforts to beautify the community and to demonstrate exceptionalism at every turn. We've begun work to upgrade and renovate Heroes Park, and it's well needed. This pocket park is located at the south of City Hall, memorizes our community heroes. It's right over on this side in case you guys want to go visit it. The area is in need of some TLC, and we think it is important, very important, to have an exceptional place to honor our community heroes. We have engaged the same design team that works on the plaza in order to create a cohesive look and feel to the city surrounding City Hall. This fall, several conceptual design options similar to what was done to the plaza will be presented to the Council for Work session. We also plan to share the conceptual ideas with the Historical Preservation Committee to get feedback. They've been waiting to see this project tackled for quite some time. This project is eligible for TIF funds under the downtown improvements or plaza categories in the original project plans. And in so doing, it's well needed and well deserved. So hats off to you, Christian Schultz.
And staying in the same general area, as many people know, a Colleyville institution, Regary's building, burned down not very long ago at 32 Village Lane. And as that building has now been removed and all that site has been cleaned up, but the foundation remains. The conversations with the VOA indicate that the structure will be reconstructed in a very near future. Staff has indicated a desire to see that the process is undertaken soon. The Village Owners Association representative shared that a previous building included 4 unit owners, and it is likely that the new construction will follow a similar design and use schematic. But I also want to shout out to our city manager, to our fire department, and our police department for all of their roles during that fire. Our city manager went into the building and got it evacuated. Our fire department kept it from spreading to the very nearby buildings there. Our police department was there definitely in support to make sure everyone stayed safe. And Walmart even donated water and some snacks, I believe. So our Colleyville community getting together, and hopefully we will see a new building there soon and new businesses growing in that area.
Very good. I have a couple items to mention. Our summer reading program is wrapping up. Celebrate an amazing summer at the Outdoor Summer Reading Grand Finale on Friday, July 26th. Enjoy a live DJ, children's arts and crafts, face painting, balloons, carnival games, bounce houses, inflatable rides, special guests, and more. All ages are welcome. For more information, check colleyvillelibrary.com. also,
Yeah. I'm gonna, you wanna go ahead?
I've got, well,
Yeah,
it's fine.
go ahead.
Okay, I've got one more. About the Dancing for the Stars coming up. The Rotary Club of Colleyville is looking for their next star. Dancing for the Stars is a unique, fun-filled, star-studded, community-wide fundraiser. Area business celebrities are paired with a professional dance instructor to prepare for one dance, which will be performed at the Dancing for the Stars event. Myself and Councilmember Wheat have participated over the last 2 years. In 2019, the Dancing for the Stars event raised $100,000 for the local and international charities. For more information on how to get involved, visit colleyvillerotaryclub.com, or .org, sorry.
Okay. Finally, Leadership Colleyville. Leadership Colleyville has been active in the city of Colleyville for quite a long time.
Long time.
How long? Over 20 years, right? And it's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber is accepting applications to attend this program. It's a program designed to strengthen, educate, and encourage current and future leaders of our community. Throughout, it's a 9-month-long program. Participants will have an opportunity to grow and connect with a diverse group of business professionals and gain a deeper understanding of relevant community issues. Applications are due August 1st, and contact the Chamber for more information. I'll say that I attended it last year, and while I've lived in Colleyville for 32 years, I did learn some new things. We were able to go lots of places, and because the legislature was in session, we sent a group down to Austin. But it was an opportunity to get to know people. I and the the police chief and Aaron, our publicity, the city publicity manager, all attended, and were very, we enjoyed the program very much. So call 817-488-7148, or look up Colleyville's Colleyville Chamber of Commerce. Excuse me. Thank you. Hope you'll enjoy it. You won't forget it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great program. So I have 2 more things to do that are fun. One, the city of Colleyville wants to recognize a Rotary Club. So Mary Rodney, Director of Library, would you come down and meet me in the front, and Mimi Tran, and we'll do that. And this is on, can you hear me?
Yes.
And I see there's many other members of the Rotary Club. Come on down. So I wanted to recognize the Chamber for the many, many positive things you do. In fact, one big positive thing is a $5,000 check to the library. So you want to tell us about that?
Well, part of Dancing for the Stars, we raised money, and we had over $100,000, and so we had to divvy it up. A lot of it went to the GCISD Foundation, but we felt that it was needed to give to the library, and so we talked to Mary, and she agreed with us to help with the summer program, as well as buy some books for cancer. And so we have $5,000 to give to Mary from our club, and our club is small, but it's mighty, so.
I would just like to say a very special thank you to the Rotary Club. With this donation, as Mimi had mentioned, we will be updating our collection of cancer treatment books for our adult collection, and then we'll be buying numerous easy reader books and picture books for the children's department. And that'll be a great asset to enhance both these collections, and thank you so much.
We have a number of members of the Rotary Club here. I want you to introduce yourself. I'm not gonna try this because I'll mess it up. So,
I'm Jason Ridley.
I'm Kay Allen.
I'm Dan Crow.
Chris Gillum.
Leslie Hill.
Gene Lucacci.
Really appreciate the donation and everything that you guys do. The Rotary Club does a great job and have been around. How long has the Rotary Club been around now? Dan, yeah, you must be the oldest one here. I'm older than you, I'm sure. Been a while. Yeah, 80s. And y'all do a lot of great work, and the city and the citizens appreciate everything that you do. And so I got a proclamation I want to give you to recognize that. So let me read this. Whereas the Colleyville Rotary Club is a volunteer organization comprised of local businesses and civic leaders who want to make a difference in their community and around the world. And whereas by teaming with the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control, UNICEF, national governments, and organizations such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rotary's Polio Plus program is an ongoing campaign to eradicate polio. And whereas Rotary Club members assist and support many countywide programs to include immunization collaboration of Tarrant County, Alcon Medical Missions Program, I retired from Alcon, Collier Center for Communication Disorders at the University of Texas, Dallas, and whereas the Colleyville Rotary Club supports local programs to include the Grapevine Colleyville Education Foundation, Colleyville Fire and Police Departments, and the Colleyville Public Library Foundation. And whereas the Colleyville Rotary Club has donated $5,000 to the library for the purchase of easy readers, children's books, and adult cancer reference material. And whereas Colleyville Rotary Club continues to promote ethics, leadership, inclusion, and service in the Colleyville community. Now therefore I, Richard Newton, Mayor of the City of Colleyville, Texas, on behalf of the City Council and citizens of Colleyville, do hereby recognize the Colleyville Rotary Club for their continued generosity in supporting the Colleyville Public Library for the benefit for the residents of Colleyville and the generations of people it has served. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and seal of the City of Colleyville, Texas, affixed this 16th day of July 2019. So thank you very much, and we appreciate everything you do. We got to get a picture.
Mimi, do you guys know when the Dancing with the Stars is next year? Has a date been set yet? Oh. So everybody put that on your calendar, February 29th, the next Dancing with the Stars.
Tammy, have you done it yet?
Who?
Have you danced yet?
Oh, yes, I was about 5 years ago.
How you doing?
I'm old. I did it a long
I
time
don't know
ago.
if Bobby's done it.
Bobby has not done
Torn
it.
ACLs, so that's my excuse.
No.
I'll stick
Bobby,
to it.
Jerry hadn't done it.
Oh, Jerry hasn't done it either.
I can't dance.
Well,
But he's
they
a
can
great,
teach
he's a
you.
great fundraiser.
I will raise money.
No.
I can't dance.
Come on.
Take these
can
notes
whistle.
down, Mimi. You've got
Okay.
Bobby and
All
Jerry
right,
wanting.
we got to get going. Pardon?
Oh.
Yeah, Councilman Kelly's going to do it.
Well,
God, how we skip
Dotson
over,
too.
he'll talk.
So, I have the pleasure, come on in, Assistant City Manager Mark Wood. We need to recognize the featured business of the month. This month is New You Chiropractic Wellness Center. So would April Kelso and Dr. Tony Kelso please come down? So April is the office manager and Dr. Kelso is the clinic director. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Being in town, we appreciate your business being in town. We welcome you and glad that you're here. And do you want to say something now or give them a shot first? Tell us about your business.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about myself first, because I'm a native of North Texas. Moved to Tarrant County in 1978, so I've seen the whole area grow. Veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard. So other than that, I've lived in Tarrant County my whole life. We have a full-service chiropractic clinic. When I mean full service, it's not the quick ones that come in. We are full service. We have a lot of cutting-edge technology. We treat concussions. We do a lot of cool stuff with just about anything you can think of. Think of us as primary care chiropractic office. Would you like to say anything?
I would say my most favorite thing is watching our patients get back to doing the things that they love, and I get to see it every day, whether it's back to work, back to hobbies, back to that water aerobics class, back to playing with the grandkids, just the excitement on their face when they're getting back to something that they love that they lost because of pain.
Nobody said where you were. You're at 5005 Heritage Drive?
Yeah, it's Glade and Heritage behind the Chase Bank, across from Walgreens. So we're still Colleyville, even though it's way over there.
We're glad you're there. Mark, you hadn't had a chance.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for choosing to invest in Colleyville. We know you have a choice where you place your business, and we appreciate you doing so in Colleyville. I've got plenty of family members who have benefited from chiropractic care, so I know the benefits that you provide to all of our residents, and we appreciate your investment in our community.
So if you need a chiropractor, come to their clinic. I really appreciate it. So, we have a little bitty token, and I'm going to get you another with your actual name on it. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you having your business here. And if there's anything we can do to help you, holler. We're happy to do it and desire to do it. Yeah, got to get a picture.
There's at least one good song. That's the only one you know, so that's the only one I'll sing to you. Oh, yep. I know all those good songs. You know what, you're lucky you're wearing Council Session right now. Come over, scan your head.
Okay, that's all of agenda item 3. We'll now move to agenda item 4, which is the consent resolution. This is resolution R-19-4401, a resolution approving city council action under consent items at the regular city council meeting of July the 16th, 2019. Whereas city council has taken action on certain items on the agenda under consent items, now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Colleyville, Texas, section 1, that the agenda decisions approved by city council action under consent items as follows are hereby adopted. A, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of July the 2nd, 2019. B, approval of a construction contract with New Way Construction LLC for the City Hall Terracotta Way Road widening project in an amount not to exceed $60,142.50 and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract. C, approval of a construction contract with Scott Beck Construction, Inc. for the City Hall entry doors renovation project in an amount not to exceed $100,675 and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract. D, denial of a bid submittal with Intermountain Slurry Seal, Inc. for the 2019 microsurface project and authorizing staff to rebid the project for fiscal year 2020. And it is so resolved. Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ray Silvarez, Director of Public Works. As you mentioned, I'll be speaking on the 3 remaining items here for the consent agenda. Item 4B is I'm here to seek approval on a construction contract with New Way Construction. On November 20th, 2018, staff presented council with several options to reconfigure traffic around City Hall due to the drive lane connecting Main Street to Randall Lane being permanently removed as a result of the City Hall Plaza project. Council's recommendation was to expand Terracotta Way to accommodate 2-way traffic and to reverse the traffic flow on the south side of the City Hall building from west to east and east to west. So we'll be changing the one-way. We received 3 bids. We received 3 bids for this roadway widening, ranging from $60,000 to $96,000, and staff recommends approval for New Way Construction.
Okay, can I have a question, Ray?
Yes, sir.
Can you put your picture up, please?
Yes.
Yeah, there. As I understand, you're saying that, and of course, we can't point to it.
Yeah.
But the road that goes from the parking lot out to the front of the City Hall is one way now going
Going from west
west to east.
Yes, correct.
That'll be changed, so it'll be one way in here, and it'll be 2-way after you get back to the back of the building.
Correct, over by the basketball courts, that would be widened to two-way traffic.
That'll be a two-way street,
Correct.
no parking, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
No, there'll still be park, you'll still have the parallel
The same
parking.
side there's parking, that'll stay.
Okay, so there will be
Yeah.
two lane, okay.
Yes.
That clears it, then, it's also two-way parking behind City Hall, right? That
Correct.
won't change,
That won't change at all.
okay. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
The picture, in fact, when I looked on, my map, on Google Map, it has a different name for the streets.
It does.
It was
it's-
very confusing.
With Google Maps, it has a different name. I believe it calls it Costa Lane, but officially it is Terracotta Lane when we looked up. So it is something we'll have to figure out with Google.
Yeah, in fact, I
So
think,
Google's not perfect?
No, it's not.
Oh,
for-
wow.
yeah, it was very confusing, but I finally got it straight in my head because I could see the parallel, or the, parallel parking
Correct.
on the west side there. Okay, thank you for the
While I'm
clarification.
thinking about it, I have a suggestion. Numerous times, it's difficult if you're talking and trying to show the audience. We're looking at what you see on our screens, but we can't point to it, and really the speaker has no way to point to it. But
Need
as
a
many
laser.
times, I want a laser pointer that can be out there so whoever's talking can at least show the audience what we're talking about.
Yes,
Okay.
that'll help tremendously.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. On item 4C, seeking approval for a construction contract with Scott Beck Construction. The City Hall front and back entry doors were built to be ADA compliant at the time of construction
Yeah.
and are grandfathered. However, with construction of the Colleyville Plaza, staff was directed to bring the doors up to current ADA standards, ensuring easy accessibility to all individuals. Scott Beck Construction, the low bidder has, let me get to that one. So here is what the new entrance is gonna look like. It's gonna go from a swing door to a sliding door, similar to the library. And
Automatic when you walk up to it, like the library.
automatic
Right.
sliding doors. And on the back side, we're gonna have the push-activated doors that will have the operator on top to push the doors open for you when activated.
Yeah, so basically, the same door hinged the same way, we'll just have automation to open
Correct,
them.
and you'll have the ped-activated buttons out there. So, Scott Beck was the low bidder. In his bid, he had a discrepancy with the base bid submittal. The discrepancy came from not providing overhead and profit on the individual bid line items. However, the profit and overhead was included in the total base bid of $101,525. Staff met with Scott Beck Construction and negotiated the contract amount to 20% of the summation of the negotiated contract amount. So which his total bid items totaled to $79,145.
Okay.
We added 20% there, which we were working with them, which makes the contract $94,974. However, staff would like to add 6% contingency just due to the short amount of window we're gonna have with completing this with the Plaza project. We don't want anything to slip up or to have to come back here to get approval, so we did add 6%, which takes us to roughly $100,675, which is still under the base bid that they originally submitted.
Okay.
So, staff recommends approval.
Can you explain that one more time to me?
So, in the base bids,
Yes,
he had the individual items all priced out.
yes,
And when you tallied those individual base bid items, it came up to $79,145.
correct?
But in the total base bid line item, he wrote down $101,525. He included his profit and overhead at the base bid, but it wasn't in the individual line items. So when you did the total, it did not match the total base bid.
Okay,
So he was still the low bidder. It wouldn't affect the next bidder up. So we were negotiating with him, trying to work it out with him. He did talk about not going through with the project, but then we would have to cash in the bid bond. It would only be 5%. We would still be way under the second bid, which is $130,000.
so he dropped a bid for 79,000, but he was really supposed to be bidding it for 101.
That's what he was
So you
intending to
dropped it
bid,
back, you went with 20% on top of that,
on top of the
to
79,000.
bump it to 93,000, and then you
Correct.
bumped another 6%
No.
on top of it for contingency?
Yeah, on our side, just to make sure, just because of the construction conjunction we
Yeah,
have with the
so,
plaza, we just
so
want to make
so
sure.
basically, we're getting it for 94.9,
Yes.
right?
94 is what we're going to get it for, but we're just giving ourselves a little bit of flexibility in case
Right.
something goes on, trying to meet the
You're
deadline.
giving yourself, the city, or are you giving Scott? I
The
mean,
city,
okay,
yeah.
that's what I wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
Our
you-
agreement with the
everything is good.
contractors, he's going to stay at 94, no
Right.
change orders, but just with the construction going on with both projects, we wanted to make sure we had some flexibility, but that would be, you would have to convince us something was going wrong.
Okay,
And Ray, so, just to clarify,
his bid document, when you tallied all of the elements, was well below, but the bid document included a total contract price of $101,000.
Correct.
Okay.
So we were, originally, we would kind of deny that and go up to the next bidder, but we were still better off negotiating with them, and we still got it a little bit under.
So another way to say this, if I hear that right, you negotiated down from 101 to 94.9.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
the bid total was 101.
Yeah.
You're just, the tally of the individual elements within that bid did not add up to 101.
It added up to
Right.
79,000, correct.
Right.
So before we get to the next one, I just want to make sure that, or just ask, the bidding processes that we usually use was used for these two projects, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
All of the online,
All of the online, the 5 weeks advertising, and all the individual plant holders' room. Yes. Okay.
So while we're on this, a little bit off the topic, but since we're talking access doors here for disabled access, we've had a request in the parking in the back for a couple more disabled slots. Are we looking at that?
yes. Well, actually,
Okay.
the request was specifically for a van access
Yeah, right.
spot, and so we're
Yeah.
going to add a second, but we were also thinking about adding a third handicap as well. So
Yeah.
adding 2 more handicap, but doubling the number that are exclusively for van
Van.
that has the sign.
Yeah, so what he's talking about, that, in fact, I was walking up one day and one of our citizens that had a child that had to be in a wheelchair and had a van that opened on the side, had a ramp, so it really did take a good bit of space beside the van, so you're saying, and we only have one of those, so we'll have 2 of those and maybe another one in addition, so we'd end up with basically 4.
Yes.
Okay, very good,
Yes, and we do have that scheduled to begin with construction over here as well. Staff will
Okay.
do it in-house.
very good.
Ray, one additional question.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about the same quality of devices that are doors, that will be doors and controls and so forth. Those are all, both the same in those bids?
Yes,
Do
sir.
we know that?
Yes, I mean, this contractor that was a little bidder here also did the work for the library as well, for the sliding
Oh,
doors.
great.
So yes, it's just, I don't know what happened.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
And on the back doors, we're using the existing doors.
Yes, we're using existing doors. We're gonna
But the front-
paint them up and clean them up and just have the operator handle on top
Yeah.
with the push activated buttons.
Yeah, I think I saw there would be refinishing the doors and so forth.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
All right. All right, and for item 4D, here to seek denial of the bid submittal with Intermountain Slurry Seal, authorizing staff to rebid the project for fiscal year 20. The city received 1 sealed bid, which was opened and publicly read aloud on July 3rd for the 2019 micro resurfacing project. The sole bid submittal includes the following statement. This bid includes the stipulation that Intermountain will try to work this project into our existing 2019 season construction schedule. However, if we cannot fit it into our 2019 schedule, it will be addressed in our 2020 paving schedule. In parentheses, they have April 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2020. So given that stipulation, staff recommends denial of the bids, and we'll take it to bid at another time later on this year.
Okay.
So those are all.
Anybody have any other questions?
No.
No.
Thanks, Ray, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
I'm going to open a public hearing then. Public hearing is open. I have a card, Kathy Hadley.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, represent myself. My concern was for an item that y'all had at the last meeting where y'all were upping the fees for if you needed to get a new roof or whatever. I forget what it's called, but specifically, y'all were upping the rate. Number one, because we were very low compared to other cities around us. And y'all were gonna raise the rates. And I got up here, and I am very happy with the gentleman who double-checked my HVAC unit and did all the necessary stuff. He found some concerns, but I shared my concern with the gentleman who checked out my roof. I didn't climb the ladder and check. He approved it, and he got paid nicely for it. I, however, suffered because of it. We had a rainstorm, and I had rain dumping in my house. It was approved, and I got up here and I shared that with y'all. Based on the performance of some understand, but based on the performance of others, why are you upping the rates? And let's keep Colleyville unique. So what if we're lower? Make it a special feature for living here in Colleyville. It's a nice thing not to have to pay out the nose to have work done at your house, especially if they don't catch it and the homeowner suffers like I did. So I do not approve. I know y'all did approve it at the last meeting, but it says, you know, if you have a concern about it, bring it up, and I'm doing it again. So I really wish I would talk about it. Don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Keep Colleyville unique.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. I have no other cards. Anyone else wish to speak on any of these items that Ray spoke about? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So thank you, Kathy. That is not being voted on tonight, as you pointed out, but appreciate your input. Council, have any other comments? Or if you do not, a motion is in order.
I move acceptance of resolution R-19-4401.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve the resolution by Councilmember Dodson, a second by Councilmember Kelly. There's no discussion. Would you open the vote? You may show it when it's ready. So that motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved. Thank you. Now moving to agenda item number 5. Item 5 is a monthly financial report that will be given us to us by the Assistant City Manager. There is no action, so we're just hearing the report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm actually going to ask our new finance director to come up and.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, surprised. You know, you're here for a reason. You have to be ready at any time.
Right, you don't mess around.
You should have seen his face.
Is that because you're manager now, Mark? Because you're manager, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tonight's report is for the month of June 2019. This report represents 75% of the current fiscal year. Just as a reminder, our fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. So what you see on the first slide is our general fund, and the purple bar represents that 75% of the fiscal year that I mentioned, all except for sales tax. Sales tax lags 2 months behind, as you know, and we'll dive deeper into sales tax here in the next 2 slides. But in terms of the general fund, we're in very good shape. The mayor always mentions we're a blessed city, and that's definitely reflected in this financial report. Current revenue over expenditures is about $5.2 million. Our revenues are at 91% of our budget, and expenditures are 70%. So anytime you have the revenues above the 75% for the fiscal year and the expenditures below 75%, we're in good shape, and we're definitely there for our general fund. So the revenues are in great shape. Do want to talk about sales tax for a few minutes. So on the right-hand side of the slide in front of you, you'll see the sales tax chart. So sales tax, we collect it 2 months after the purchase is made. So essentially, we're at 58% of the fiscal year in terms of sales tax because of that 2-month lag. So our sales tax through June.
Mark, a question for you. I don't know if the audience, you haven't, there are colors up here on these bar charts, and there is a legend down at the lower left, but I don't know if people can read that or not. Can you guys read what the legend is? So would you tell them what those colors mean?
Absolutely. So the blue bar represents the budget, the adopted budget of the city council. The red is the actuals for the current fiscal year, and the green is for the same time last fiscal year.
Okay.
And the purple bar, as I mentioned, represents that where we are in the fiscal year.
Yeah, and where we are right now is we're 75% through the year, so purple represents 75%.
That's correct.
Right.
And Mark, you might want to take a moment to explain why the ad valorem is so high.
Very simply, new growth. So we, as you know, we adopted the effective tax rate last fiscal year. We did not include new growth in our budget calculations. And so purposely excluded that to do a.
What did you mean why it's so far above the 75%?
Both the new growth and the fact that our collections of property tax come early in the year.
Over the budget, yeah.
Right.
They're always early in the year, and so therefore you collect them early, but they're over budget because of the lack of counting the new growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our property tax collections come in December, January, February.
Yeah.
Is when you see those come.
And this is because of new growth. I want to make sure that we,
Right.
We didn't
Right.
budget for new growth this year.
that's exactly right. There was some
No,
confusion last time.
We set the effective tax rate,
That's right,
means same revenue,
exactly.
except for new, except for
So our
growth.
new growth.
We didn't budget it. Yep.
We are blessed.
So diving into sales tax, through the month of June, we were up just a little bit, about 0.3% above where we were last year for our June sales tax. Looking on the next slide, you can see the month of June had about a 5.4% increase over the June before, the year before. Now, since we do receive our July receipts, we receive them in the second week, so we received those last week. Our sales tax has taken a dip again, and I'll show you the next slide in just a second, but we've seen that to where we've had 1 month of increase and almost an identical decrease the next month. That's happened in the last 4 months. We had about an 8.5% increase, followed by 8.5% decrease, 5.5% increase, followed by a 5.5% decrease. So it's very interesting, kind of up and down, but we're in good shape financially, so we're not concerned about it, but it's just something that we're keeping our eye on. Cumulatively through July, we're about 0.43% down from this point last year. That's about $10,000 down. So in terms of a $24 million general fund budget, it's just it's very, very minute, but we are keeping an eye on it. I thought it'd be interesting to show the last 2 full fiscal years plus the current fiscal 19. So the yellow line represents fiscal year 17, blue is fiscal year 18, and the green line is the current fiscal year 2019 that we're currently in. Just a few takeaways from this.
And tell people, I don't know if people can see the axes, so tell them what the axes
Yeah,
are.
so so it's the month that we receive the sales tax in on the top line,
Right,
on the horizontal, and on the bottom of that is the month that the purchase was made.
yeah.
So for a purchase that was made in October, the city receives that sales tax revenue in December.
No, but the point is, it's dollars on the left, it's how much came into, those are by month. And so that shows you what you said in words a while ago. Month to month, it varies quite a bit, and what's amazing to me is it's a pattern that's consistent year to year. And matter of fact, you and I were talking about earlier today, if you put all the other years on there, it's exactly the same. So the city manager's been postulating this, and I really didn't think it'd turn out, but there's something going on in state processes that's driving it. It's really interesting.
Absolutely. Yes, on the earlier today, so I was looking at back to 2014, it was literally the exact same.
Same.
Wow. So kind of key takeaways from this slide are the peak months are similar to 17 that we're currently in. So we're seeing some peaks, and they're up to the peak of around 2017. The good part is that when the valleys, when it does go down, that's not going down as far as it could as the other year. So 19 is above that. So that's helping us out in terms of our sales tax budget. December, March, April, and June were very good for the city, and you can see that reflected here. So as we're currently in the budget season, and we look to next year's fiscal year 20 budget, right now we're kind of fine-tuning our revenue projections, and we're thinking about keeping it the same as the 19 budget, which is $3.9 million.
But one reason you started looking at this is because I'd been in announcements reporting what sales tax was doing every month, and you would get up here every month and report it, and we found that, hey, 1 month, hey, we're 5% up, we're 8% up from last year, and the next month, we're a little down from last year, and we were trying to understand what's going on. So this month is July, so the green line is 2019. So this month, we're in the valley. So we're kind of expecting next month it's going to pop back up. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, the challenge though is that we're in the valley, but you can see we're above 18 and 17, so we're in a good position. But if you notice, when we bounced back in July, we bounced back to 17, but not to 18.
Yeah, right.
And so now, how high will the peak go? And so to be conservative, we're going to, be a little bit more flat in our projection for sales tax next year. And so we don't really know. The other thing we're going to try to do next year is we're going to project monthly budget numbers that we're going to use as our benchmark to then compare, rather than comparing to the previous year.
Yeah.
So it helps the trending, but if you're right, Mayor, if you turn on all the years, they follow this exact pattern, you know, with some degree of variability, but not anything that's
Very
outlandish.
significant, very significant, actually, the bounces are.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, there's something going on, something driving that.
Yeah.
I can't help but think it has something to do with reporting. Maybe people report quarterly or something. It's just too strange otherwise.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moving along to the utility fund, again, this is, fund's in great shape. Our base rates are in line with the budget where you'd expect them to be. Just as a reminder for those maybe watching, the way the city calculates our base rates is that we calculate how much it takes to put the utility on, and then we charge a rate to cover that cost. The TRA water rate is a pass-through rate, so we charge the customers what TRA charges per 1,000 gallons. And it's a very simplistic approach and a very fair approach to calculating the utility rates. So the base rates for both the sewer fund and the water fund are right in line with where they should be. Revenues are over expenditures again by $600,000. Interesting to note on the right-hand side, under the utility fund revenues, you see the water volumetric rate. So again, the red bar is the current fiscal year. Green bar is last fiscal year, so you can see we're way down in water sales, as you would expect with how wet the summer has been. So you can really see the effect of the rain in that chart. Just for perspective, for the current fiscal year, we're 500 million gallons less sold than the same.
500 million?
500 million gallons less.
Wow. So that's in the order of half, right?
It's so it's 33% down
33.
from this point last year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And it shows you how much rain we've had. And we know that from our drainage complaints.
Exactly.
But more importantly, if you had a more traditional model,
Yeah.
you'd be looking at that volumetric difference between the actual last year and the current actual, and be wondering how you're going to cover that budget shortfall.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the volumetric is just a pass-through,
Yeah.
so there's no budget shortfall to cover.
Yeah, one suggestion for this plot too. So in this middle rectangle where we have water base rate and sewer base rate, I don't know if people can see that, those are the critical ones to us. So I would tend to label those two as city. That's related to us. That's how that's what's important to us. The other over there is just gonna turn out to be whatever our citizens use in water is gonna drive that plot, because they get charged for the water they use. It's kind of external to the city. That money passes straight through the TRA. But we know what these look like, but I'm sure people that sitting out in that audience or on TV have no clue without some explanation of what this means. So I'm looking for ways to make it, as Kyle was saying earlier, how do we show it so visually you get the message quickly without a lot of explanation?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great suggestion, thank you. So moving on to the debt service fund, this fund is largely complete for the fiscal year. We do have one final interest payment to make in August. It's due August 15th, and that's for $133,000. But the ambulance payment has been made, the fire engine payment has been made. And just as a reminder, we use this debt service fund to help pay for some of our fire apparatus, such as our ambulance. We make a down payment, and then we make lease payments over a period of 4 to 5 years to help pay for those apparatus. And in fact, for our next fiscal year 20 budget, we are looking at doing another ambulance, using this fund for that in the same manner, and then retiring the second ambulance right now, the older ambulance.
So the message of these plots is we're 75% through the year, but we're done expending in this category.
Just about. We will be in August.
And collecting, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then lastly, in terms of the drainage fund, again, the fund's in great shape. We have used this fund for various projects. The current master plan was used with this fund, but we did back that out and are using TIF funds with that. But this fund, it was used for our street sweeper. I asked our public works group just how often that street sweeper is used. That street sweeper is used going up and down residential streets to take trash and debris and leaves and things off of the street so it stays out of our drainage ways. And we've used that for 1,885 miles this current fiscal year. So it's out and being used a lot. Councilmember Nakamura mentioned the fire, unfortunately, that happened last week, and as soon as that fire was put out, that street sweeper was on the street cleaning up in front of that
Right.
house in that neighborhood. So it's being put to good use.
Good,
That concludes my presentation.
very good.
All right.
Any other questions for Mark?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, then with that, we'll move to agenda item 6A. And this is a second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-19-2086, consideration of the zoning change for the agricultural zoning district to the RE Single Family Residential zoning district on a portion of Lot 1R-2, Block 1 of the Mockingbird Hill Edition located at 6260 Pool Road, case ZC 19-006. Ben?
Thank you. Ben Briner, Director of Community Development. As you stated, this is a request for rezoning at 6260 Pool Road. Let me go through a couple slides real quick. This is an aerial photo of the site.
So let me say up front, so everybody
Okay.
knows, I've spoken to the applicant. The intention of the council is going to be to table this when we get through with it, but we're going to have the discussion and public hearing, so we can hear about it.
Okay, great. So here's an aerial site, a photo of the site. There was a home on this property at one time. It has been removed. I believe it was removed either late last year or early this year. The current zoning, there's two zonings on this lot. The front part is R40 and the rear part is agricultural. The intent is to build a new single-family home on this property, so it is for single-family zoning. The original request is for the R40 district. However, at our last meeting, there was a conversation about rezoning it to the residential estate district. And in association with that, we added an item also on your agenda for tonight to give an opportunity to grant waivers to the side setbacks if desired. I know we're going to probably table it tonight. So the ordinance has been amended or revised to show the residential estate zoning district.
Okay.
It is designated for residential on our future land use map, so it does comply with that designation. Just a quick photo of the site looking towards the property from the street. So I placed both of the districts. R40 is the initial request. However, the conversation as far as going to the residential estate district, so I identified those minimum requirements for that district as well. You can see it's primarily for the lot size, both the overall size as well as the dimensions, but also the biggest issue for this property and the design of the house is for the side building line requirements. The R40 authorizes a 15-foot setback. The residential estate increases that up to 25 feet. So it is a single platted lot. There is no proposal to subdivide the property. This is the plat exhibit that created the lot. With the design of the house, they do identify a distance of 18 feet to the south property line and 17 feet to the north property line. The R40 district would authorize these distances. However, going to the residential estate district, a variance would be needed for these distances to remain as proposed. We did send our notices out to surrounding property owners. Originally, we did not receive, we did receive one letter in opposition, but we discussed that was rescinded verbally. However, over the weekend, we received a letter reaffirming the opposition from that individual. And then today, we received a petition of multiple signatures. With all of the opposition, it does calculate more than 20% of the area within the notification, specifically the 200-foot area adjacent to the property request. That does trigger a supermajority vote, which means 6 affirmative votes are needed for a change of zone. Staff does recommend approval. This also went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This was under the R40 request. They do recommend approval of the zoning. The residential estate district is a more restrictive district, and so it is in line with that approval as well. hopefully I've answered most of your questions,
Yeah.
but if you have any others, I'd be glad to answer.
But would, go back and just leave that previous, leave that up if you would. Yeah, I didn't explain why I said we were gonna table it, but it's for a couple of reasons. One, as you just explained, last meeting, there was no opposition. As of right now, there is enough opposition to drive this to a supermajority. For those that are watching and listening to this, Councilmember Wheat is not here today. I really never want to have a supermajority vote without the full council here, because it takes 6 to approve supermajority, approve something under supermajority. And so that's one. Number two, I did speak with the neighbor that lives at 6250 immediately to the south, who's here tonight, and he didn't get notification as of the first meeting, so that was tabling. Will provide a little bit more time for everyone to kind of talk and consider what potential action there should be, or if there are any compromises that could be had leading into final action. So, and I did speak to the applicant who is here tonight, is not available at the next meeting, which is August the 6th. He will be available August the 20th, which is the second meeting in August. So I'm going to recommend when we get ready to table it to the August the 20th meeting. And so we'll do that in a minute. I want to go ahead and have any discussion we may want to have, and then have a public hearing before we do that, because I know there are people that here want to speak to it. So any other questions or thoughts before I open the public hearing?
The main concern of the people that submitted the opposition was the setback, is that correct?
Yeah, there's,
Side yard setback.
yeah, I think, and you'll probably hear tonight, I know I talked to one, there's, the side yard setback is key one. The neighbor immediately to the south at 6250 is also concerned about where the home is. Apparently, right now, it's planned to be behind his house as opposed to just the side. So that's, we'll hear that, but that's
Okay,
what I've heard.
Okay.
Of course, just explanation for everybody listening, council prefers to go to RE because that's residential estate versus R40, because this is over 2 acre tract of land, and of course our strategy is we do not want that subdivided in the future, so RE is the proper zoning for that size piece of land. So that's kind of a snapshot of what we know at this point. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. I have some cards. Landon Thompson, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor Newton. Good evening, council members. My name is Landon Thompson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of John Mazzell. I am representing Jim and Sherry Jacoby. Jim is here tonight. He is the, or they are, the residents there at the property to the south of the property which the rezoning is being discussed for. I do have a PowerPoint presentation which I'd like to
Is that the
illustrate.
6250? Excuse me, I'm sorry, 6250?
That's correct. The 6250 is where the Jacobys live.
Okay.
And as it's sort of already been discussed, the main issue that we have in this particular situation is because of the variance that's being requested, or rather the spacing between the residences. So, of course, as has already been.
Can you get closer to the phone? Could you move a little closer to the mic, is what he's requesting.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Hold it towards you. As has already been mentioned, we have prepared a protest to the variance request. We have obtained signatures from a number of individuals. I have prepared, along with that, a highlighted map showing the individuals which have signed the protest and indicating the area of the acreage which was represented by those signatures. And as I would point out to the council, what's particularly significant is, in particular, we have the individuals there at the 2502 and 2505, and then the 6230 addresses, which basically you have at least 2 full sides of the proposed rezoning area that all have objections to this variance that's being requested. So the people that are going to be most directly affected have objections to it, but other individuals in the area as well. And of course, this is really only the people that we've been able to sound out since this last week. There was apparently some problem with the receiving of the notice of this matter until just very recently, and so the Jacobys were not able to really get on this until just in the last few days, but we have managed to make contact and secure the signatures of these individuals already. So what exactly is the issue that the Jacobys have concern about? Here is a overhead view of the property in question. This is taken off the most recent Google Earth from November 2018. It indicates on the left side picture, you will see the view from the south going north. You have Pool Road over on the right-hand side of the picture. And it shows the property that you can see there, designated as 6260 Pool Road, which is largely just a forested trees at this stage. The picture on the right indicates the same property, but it's from the front view of the property. You can actually see that from Pool Road. And you can see in that particular how the houses would line up as far as the properties being there. And just for the council's information, you can kind of see the size and of the estates and the lots that are involved with this, and the particular structures that are already there. We have the residences on the far left side of that right-hand picture, which is a property that's there. Then we have the property in the middle, which is the Jacobys property. The footage of that house is about 10,000 square feet, or sorry, is about 4,400 square feet. The other property, which you have over to the right side of the right-hand picture, is the Chan's, and that is a 10,000 square foot property. Now, the property or the construction that's being proposed for this property is 15,000 square feet. Wow. So half again the size of the largest property over there on the right. It's going to make a significant impact visually and in a number of other ways on this particular neighborhood. So here we have the proposed construction plan. As you can see from the layout of the property boundaries and the way that the structure is situated on it, it's really just crammed right into the middle of it, and was planned apparently with the need and necessity for this variance. It's really almost completely from boundary line to boundary line there in the middle of the property. Certainly, there's different ways that could be done, but I submit this for the council so your consideration in case you haven't seen it, because one of the determinations in a request for a variance is whether other use can be reasonably made of the property. And I think it's quite clear from this particular proposed construction that not only could many other uses be made, there could be other layouts and positions of this same residence within the property, but this is probably almost the most inconvenient location that they could choose to place it. So what exactly are we talking about as far as this proposed construction if it goes forward in the way that they are requesting? It's going to look something like this. This is using the footprint that has been provided by the proposed plan. We have a construction showing where that outline would be laying on the property. Again, the property or the view over to the right-hand side shows the front view of the properties, and again, you can see the significant size contrast between the yellow proposed property construction that they're wanting to put in versus anything that's currently in the area. You can also see how it really just fills up that space and encroaches significantly on the boundary lines on either side. It's less of an issue for the property to the right-hand side, the north-hand property, because they're farther back from the boundary line themselves. However, the smaller property, the Jacobys to the left, or they're in the center rather, are somewhat closer to their boundary line and therefore would be facing this prospect of being much closer to a much larger structure, which is going to interfere with their property in a lot of ways that they have concerns about. What are some of the ways that we're talking about? Well, for starters, you have how this is going to look from their back patio. This is the view from the Jacobys' back patio, from their backyard, showing the side over to that lot that is going to be developed that's under application currently. They've actually already laid out stakes showing where the locations of that structure is going to be. And so if you look at the left-hand side and look very closely, you can actually see wooden stakes placed into the ground marking the location. So we've simply taken those wooden stakes and connected them on the right-hand picture So you will actually get an impression of what will happen here. You're talking about taking the side of the garage, because that's the part of the structure that we're looking at there, and basically moving it at least 10 feet closer to the fence line of the Jacobys. Now, for perspective, where I'm standing right now is about an average of 15 feet away from each of y'all. So if you can imagine standing from your back porch and looking out and having that far away from your fence line, the side of a giant garage for this huge structure that is being proposed to be built. The current line, 25 feet, would be about halfway back from the council chamber. And that is what the Jacobys are asking to be preserved if this variance is denied. So it will at least give them that additional space besides looking out and seeing the side wall of this garage obstructing and really dominating the view from their backyard there. But this isn't just about the view. This isn't just about appearances. This also are some significant concerns that can come with this type of property. In particular, you have drainage issues. And one of the things which I didn't point out before, but if you look back at this previous thing, previous slide having to do with the locations of the property, it's worth noting that on that right-hand side, the north side of the property, that far north property, is at the height of a hill. And so the elevation slopes downward regularly all the way down from the right hand to the left on this right-hand picture, from the north to the south. Which means that if you're going to build a large structure in that middle spot as is being proposed, they would have to be building up and raising up the elevation, the earth, on that left-hand side, the side closest to the Jacobys property. Now, the alternative would be to take down the high land on the right-hand side, on the north side, or to split the difference. But at any rate, it's almost certain that there's going to have to be some type of building up of the foundation in order to bring it to a level cross for this whole length across the property. If you raise that property next to the Jacobys, not only are the Jacobys then facing the prospect of a garage wall 15 feet away of however high that structure may be, but they're then facing the prospect of a rampart of earth being built up adjacent immediately to their property as well, to their fence line, with all of the damage and risks of drainage problems that come along with that type of construction, which of course I'm sure everybody is quite familiar with. So you have concerns about the damage. You also have concerns about the way that this could encroach upon the Jacobys foliage on their own property. They have trees and of significant size back there on their backyard, but if you get a structure over the root system of a tree within a certain distance, then it's potentially going to kill that tree within a few years. And if the structure is allowed to be built within 15 feet of the Jacobys fence line, they have trees along their fence line of their own trees on their own property that are potentially going to be killed by that encroachment, by that structure coming in and getting over their root system or interfering with their foliage. So that is a concern and a very real one for the Jacobys as well. And then the other issue that is just a general concern that we would like the council to take into consideration on this is that if you narrow the space between a structure of this size and the fence line, you are severely restricting the access of emergency and maintenance crews that might need to use that access way. With a smaller structure, it might not be as much of an issue to have a smaller passageway. But when you have a bigger structure, you need to have access for bigger maintenance equipment, bigger potential emergency issues and things that have to come back through that spot. So the 15-foot clearance between the structure and the fence line is not adequate for a structure of this size. You need to maintain that 25-foot clearance in case of emergencies or maintenance issues that may arise. The last point that I just kind of want the council to be aware of is to keep in mind the authorities and the purpose behind zoning regulations in the first place. Generally speaking, the Texas Local Government Code lays out the purpose of zoning laws. It is to allow for a standard, regular zoning use, regular use, and to preserve certain public issues. And variance in this case, if granted, would endanger several of those particular purposes. Specifically, security, safety from fire, panic, and other dangers. Again, you're talking about a much more concentrated and narrowed access way there than would otherwise be allowed for. Promoting the health and general welfare, there's a concern about that as well. Providing adequate light and air as the continues to encroach on the property lines is going to be a potential problem and danger. And particularly number 5, preventing the overcrowding of the land, and number 6, undue concentration of population. So there's really just no reason for this particular structure to have to be in this particular place and this particular size. The other issue of the authorities that relate to these decisions is if a variance is requested, there have to be 2 findings, 2 bases that are supported to grant it. Number 1, it has to not be against the public interest, which I think we have a problem here because it looks very much like this is going to impose on some of the properties around it. And number 2, it does have to, there has to be a showing of unnecessary hardship from enforcing the ordinance as it currently is. So the variance in this case is not supported because it would not be the case of an unnecessary hardship, and it's not going to be harmless to the public. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have another card, Kathy Hadley.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, to represent myself. I was concerned when I saw this, immediately came to my mind that, well, if y'all can hold their feet to the fire and say you cannot put multiple homes on that, because I saw that and went, oh, that's big enough for many homes. Y'all were running out of land. I would like to keep the larger, like estate size lot. Protect Colleyville, keep her unique. And I have to say this, as far as a house being built on it and neighbors not liking whatever, you don't have to look at it. So I know I'm not helping much, but please keep the lot, the estate size. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Sure, you may speak.
Apologize for not having a card. I'm not overly familiar with the processes here, but I'm Brian Hill. I'm the property owner, current resident of Colleyville, live at 512 Shelton Drive. You know, I'd just like to make a couple of points, a little bit of way of background. I'm not an attorney, so I won't be nearly as eloquent as my neighbor's attorney, but I'll do my best. You know, I agree with the last resident that was up here. I think Colleyville is a beautiful city, and I think when you can take 2 parcels of land and bring them together and preserve what the city has as a tradition and a heritage of large lands with nice homes on those lands, I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing. My understanding is now that we have a single plat with a single parcel of land, that it would require to come back before the city council to ever subdivide that property, which is not our intention. It was never our intention. But it would have to come back to the city council before that decision could ever be made again. So I think we're safe that you have control over whether or not that property would ever be subdivided and be multiple homes placed on it. You know, secondly, you know, this is a very interesting process. It started for us back in February, and it really plateaued this past weekend when my wife and I went to the property to enjoy this beautiful piece of land that we bought, you know, the house of our dreams that we would like to place on this land. And our neighbor to the south, which is the Jacobys, you know, came onto our property uninvited, accosted my wife, and said things that I will not even disrespect the city or the city council in the vile words used against my wife in the first 20 minutes of knowing her. I mean, it was just reprehensible is the only word that I can come up with. And in fact, we actually had to call the police to have Miss Jacoby leave our property. And what's interesting in the PowerPoint presentation, the gate that runs along the side of the property, the only purpose of that gate is to go through it and enjoy the property rights of someone else. the gate has no other purpose. It borders the side of our property. And I think the real issues of the Jacobys is they've been able to, for multiple years, be able to enjoy someone else's property. And they had every right to buy the property as we did, and they chose not to, and they no longer will be able to enjoy someone else's property. You know, it's one of our rights in this country, in this state, and in the city is to acquire a property, and inside the regulations that the city set out, you can enjoy that property. And the other interesting item in the PowerPoint is it's the Jacoby home that is closer and out of line with the other homes. Where we will build our home is directly in line with the property south of the Jacobys. So we are right in line with the other properties that are already in that area. Now, the history on the property, the back part is currently zoned ag. Now that it has been bifurcated from the property to the north, it no longer qualifies to be ag zoned. It's not large enough. The property itself, the new property and how it's platted, it doesn't qualify to be RE. It doesn't have the right width to be RE. All we originally set out to do was conform the property to the front parcel of land, which was R40. We wanted to take a piece of property that's currently zoned ag, that's not qualified to be zoned ag, and conform it to the front part of the property, which is R40. Now the application is for an RE zoning with a variance. That was never our desire, but it was what was viewed, I guess, as an agreeable alternative that can meet multiple objectives, one of which ensuring that the property would never be subdivided, which, by the way, it can't without the approval of the city council. So, you know, our view is if we could conform the property at R40, that achieves our purposes. We're fine with the approach of a variant on the property if an RE zoning is what we pursue, if we can achieve the proper setbacks. What we're trying to achieve is 18 feet approximately on each side. That's what we need to build the home that we want. Just because an attorney makes a statement doesn't make it a fact. And the property that we're building, the home that we're building, the downstairs footprint is 7,300 square feet. The total square footage is 9,700 square feet. It was suggested that it's 15,000 square feet. I wish I was successful enough to buy a home and build a home that has 15,000 square feet, but I guess I'm just not that successful. So I just want you to keep in mind, just because someone prepares a PowerPoint, they paint it to make it look in a way that looks advantageous to their position, doesn't make it a fact. It doesn't make it a fact. And there are very many clear facts as it relates to this property, but I appreciate y'all's time. It's been quite a process. Hopefully the process will end soon, and I'll rejoin you guys on the 20th.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I got a question for the applicant.
Yeah, let me finish the public hearing
Okay,
and
I
we
didn't
can
know.
come back.
Okay.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Okay.
Sure, Mr. Jacoby. And we'll get to question, Bob.
Yeah, I just didn't want him to walk back over.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay,
It's okay.
so I'd like to point out that we didn't build this home. We bought it, we've been there almost 8 years, so we didn't design it, we didn't build it, it's been there, I think, 13 years. So it is what it is. We didn't put the fence there, the gate, we never use it to enjoy the property. That's just a statement of incorrect facts. It is there, that is true, but we don't use it to enjoy it. I would invite all of you to come over to our property and just to see what we're talking about. We've got a home right there that we've been there. We can't move it. It appears that if we could be shoved out of the way, that'd be fine with the people that are wanting to build next to us. It seems like a lack of creativity to not be able to squeeze a house. It's 145 feet wide, and they're asking for a variance because they can't get it into 180 feet. I don't think we're asking too much as a residential estate, but you can't squeeze a house into it. So it's, it just seems like they're not paying a bit of attention to their neighbors. We can't fix our property. It is what it is. We can't move it. So that's what I'd like you to consider when you start putting it down. We'd invite all of you to come by. We'll be glad to show you where the stakes are and why we're so concerned. We have we don't, yeah, sure, we enjoy the forest beside us, but that's not the point. They get to build their house, but I'm asking you to hold them to what the 25-foot boundary is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
Would
else
the
wish to
speaker-
speak?
Would the speaker identify himself for the record,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry, yeah.
My name's Jim Jacoby, and my wife and I own the property to the south.
And state your address, too, please.
6250 Pool Road. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Kathleen Hennessy, 5013 Stonebridge Drive in Colleyville. I just want to make one comment about trees. There, on our good old famous Cherry Lane, there's a magnificent oak tree that has a trunk this wide, this big, magnificent. And there was a new house built there about 2.5 years ago. And all the trees that were to be retained were marked and flagged, and the foundations were put in. And one part of the foundations were put in within 2.5 feet of the trunk of the tree. So guess what? About a month ago, all the leaves of that magnificent tree went brown. And today, that beautiful tree is gone. It's been taken down, and there's nothing left of it. And I would remind you that the air in a city is very, very important. And trees are our lungs. Trees are what filter out a lot of the toxins and produce fresh oxygen for us. We can't afford to let construction happen on the roots of these magnificent oxygen-producing trees. And so I would ask that you follow up with construction more carefully and look at where the trees were to be saved, and don't allow anything within the branches of that tree. If you're going to save them, if you're not going to save that one, make sure you insist on saving another one, because I lived in England where it was very heavily polluted in the area I lived in at first, and everybody had black lungs. Everybody had soot from the coal dust in the old days, but it took a huge amount of government action and a huge amount of individual citizen cooperation on every step. But they finally got really good clean air in the part of England that I lived in. But we're not doing that. And I would like to comment that now the air in Colleyville is rated 1 grade below that of Southlake. Southlake has grade 2, and Colleyville is now rated as grade 3. Let's respect our trees, please. Okay,
Didn't know that. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir. No, you speak. State your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Ken Frisbee, and I live at 6775 Florence Road in Justin, Texas. I'm the Hills builder and longtime friend. I would like to start off too. I have built houses in and around Colleyville for in excess of 25 years. When the building department was off Branchford in a portable building, is how long I've been building houses here. I worked for another builder in this area for the last 11 years. I've been on my own. I developed the Tanglewood subdivision. I've built houses in Montclair, Westmont, Westcote, and I've done multiple estate houses up and down Bransford, LD Lockett, and White Drive. I actually, at one point, was a volunteer fire department for the city of Colleyville back in the early '90s. So I've been around.
Yeah.
I'm the person that set the stakes on the lot as a preliminary as to us to decide what the best location is for the house. And I don't know if you're able to change the slide.
Sure.
And pull up the overall view of, it can be the lot with the trees.
A picture,
Is it the picture? Yes, sir.
overhead.
The overhead? Yes, sir.
Did we have an overhead?
There.
There it is, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna, a couple of points that they pointed out was one is the location of the house in accordance with the setbacks. The immediate house to the south, which is R40 and has a 15-foot setback, we're proposing a variance on the RE with a 25 setback of a 7-foot variance. That's actually what we're proposing. That is, instead of 25, we're 18 feet, which is actually 3 foot further off the property line than the opposing neighbor. Strategically, on placing the house, if you'll notice, and I don't have
A pointer, right, we'll get one.
Notice, there's a clear area just to the north and maybe a little bit back from the neighbor's house. I don't know if you can see that in
Yeah.
the trees.
Where the green trees are further north than that.
Where it's a, well, do this. It would be to the west of the, I guess, green trees.
Yes.
It's kind of a barren, it's a barren area where there are no trees.
Yeah.
Right under the 6260 there?
I apologize.
Just it's a touchscreen, so when you touch it, be careful, put your hand over it instead of touching it. It'll, let the camera kick on, give me a second.
So,
See it, look above, you can see it? Kinda
Yeah,
above.
right,
is that,
Okay.
this open area here,
Go ahead, zoom in a little more.
yeah,
this open area here.
yeah.
So our thought when placing the house was this, and this was to deal with the water drainage of the development of the lot, and also improve to the landscape and the basically aesthetics of the lot as it's completed and the build is done. That area is proposed to be a water feature, if you will, pond, that adds aesthetics to the property with fountain, without lights, so it's not obtrusive, but it also allows us to cover and contain water as needed as a retention pond that would also be used to irrigate the trees and the land around it. On top of that, we're proposing, and I very much agree with this lady about protecting the trees. That's why we're strategically placing the home where we are to protect the trees, to minimize the trees that we have to remove to build a house. We also have in plans of a landscape design in excess of $150,000. So the minimum amount of trees that we're going to be removing to build the house in the proposed location that we've staked is going to be increased and subsidized by the volume of the landscape that we're going to be putting in. They were concerned about the height of the building or the elevation or the grade of the building. And yes, we do on any property that I've ever done, we either cut grade and field grade, but there are building practices that allow you to build the house, and it's called drop brick ledges. That gives you the perception of the house that is not built way up in the air, that it's actually, if you do drop brick ledges, you get a visual from the exterior of the house that it's to grade. In the interior house, when you go in, which is irrelevant to the outside, it allows you to do those things so you don't have this obtrusive home next to a smaller home. As Brian pointed out, the first floor elevation is just over 7,000 square feet, not 13. And then also, the strategic location is, if you will, from the neighbors to the south and the neighbors to the north, almost in between, not too far back or not too close. So we're not in the backyard of the neighbors to the south, and we're not in the front yard of the neighbors to the west. So it's strategically placed for that reason. I'm trying to think what other points I want to go. And I know I'm a big muscle-headed, bald-headed guy, but I too was, for the first time in 30 years of building in the city of Colleyville, verbally assaulted by the neighbor next door. She came through the gate. She was very upset. I knew she was. I asked her, please, I'm just out here working, and I don't want to get in an argument with you, and I'd appreciate you wouldn't talk to me that way, and would you please go back in her yard? And I too will not disrespect the council or this meeting with what I was called. I'm a Christian man. I have Christian values, and I intend to build them a very nice house with the requirements of the city council, like I've done for 35 years. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any, can I speak one more time? Can you make it brief?
I'm not going to deny my wife got
I'm
very-
sorry, you need to state your name and address one more
Jim
time.
Jacoby, 6250 Pool Road. I won't deny that my wife got very colorful with her language. I would prefer she didn't do that, but when people spit on you, that's how she reacts, and that's how we see it. I hear this, we're trying to really work to make this thing right. Anybody tells me that they're going to build a 50-yard wide house on a lot that's about 30 foot wider than a half of a football field, and tell me they're concerned about their neighbor. All I hear is, it's about me. We don't care what you say. We were told right off, you don't tell us what we're going to build on our property. I get that. I'm just asking for a little bit of courtesy. And yes, my wife is very colorful, and she can be as hard as nails. But if you will come and see what we're talking about, they can talk all they want, slope it, whatever. It's right there, and we were told it was a 15,000 square foot house. I'm sorry, it's only 10. So we're mistaken, we admit that. Mr. Hill was invited on our property first so we could ask him, look at what we're seeing. Please consider this. Now, I can't honestly say that he invited her to his, but she was over there. And then it did go south, I admit that. And we were forced to leave. I didn't go over there, but yes, she was. But I'm not going to apologize for her, because I see it as I'm being spit in the face, and I just happen to fight a little different. She doesn't. So I appreciate your consideration. Thanks again.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Mayor Pro Tem, would you give me 1 second? I know you had some questions. For everybody that may be watching this on TV and in the audience, I would like to summarize real quick kind of different, the city's perspective, if you will, because we've just heard a lot of different perspectives from different people, the owner and the people that are neighbors. But what I want to clarify is the fact from the city standpoint. So the facts are, the Hills came in with an application. They did come in with an R40 application. The city council, based on our strategy for the city and in our master plan, preferred not to have an R40 zoning on a piece of property that was capable of being split up. And Mr. Hill, you're absolutely correct. It is platted as one lot, which we appreciate that, and it does require action on the city council to divide it up. However, if it is R40, at some point in the future, maybe not you, somebody else could come in and make that request of the city, and it would be a legitimate request because the zoning would allow it. And so whoever the council may be at that point would have to consider that decision, and just depending on who they are. So that's the reason our strategy is to maintain the integrity of the city, as you eloquently spoke about in terms of what Colleyville is. I think I love it that way. Most people do. We prefer to have the zoning kind of match the size of the property at the time, which in this case is RE. And I live on a piece of property that's residential state zoned RE, and there are some advantages to RE zoning that R40 doesn't have, like you'd have a mother-in-law home or something in the back. R40 would not allow that. Anyway, that's, I just wanted to state that for everybody's purpose, so everybody understood the kind of the logic and the rationale for the council getting us to this point. Now, you absolutely did say at the last meeting, and there wasn't opposition. I mean, we didn't, or we're not aware of opposition at that time, that we postulated, okay, you said RE is okay, but I need the variance on the setback. So the difference between then and now is there is a good bit of opposition, specifically on setbacks, I mean side yard setback. Now, what I wanted to clarify for everybody listening to this is there's numerous points been made. Now, the things that the city needs to be or has control over, the only control the city has about where the owner chooses to put their home on their property is in the zoning ordinances around setbacks. And so there's side setbacks, there's front yard, there's front setbacks, and there's rear setbacks. And so within those boundaries, the owner can choose to do what they want to do from a location standpoint. The other constraints are, we do have a tree mitigation ordinance, so we do our best, although there's plenty of flaws in it, to try to maintain and manage trees as best as we can. The second one that was mentioned is drainage. So drainage is going to get looked at regardless of the other answers. You heard me kind of make a joke earlier about, hey, it's been a lot of rain and we get a lot of drainage complaints. So we deal a lot with drainage, so we're very sensitive and want to be sure there's good engineering done on drainage and how the runoff's going to work, and make sure there's the right retention for it, and make sure, because the law basically is you should create no more water onto an adjacent property than was already there. And of course, one of the problem areas comes in, well, okay, I'm just putting the same water, but it's going to be in the, you know, like one pipe versus an acre. So anyway, we haven't talked about drainage yet, but I can guarantee you, before we're through with all this, there'll be a lot of questions for the applicants about drainage and your drainage plan and all that sort of stuff. So we're not really there yet, but that need to get dealt with, because I do understand, you know, you have to cut and you have to fill, and that absolutely makes differences in where the water's going to go. We all know that and understand that. So I just want to explain to everybody, there's only those are the factors that this council, as the elected body, will consider. So clearly, probably the biggest issue in this case is that variance. And so whether or not it should be there, yes or no. Now, I will say, and if you watch meetings or listen to me at all, I'm very negative on variance. I mean, you got to have a really good reasons to do it. Now, I wanted to go back to the current zoning. So the Hills, the applicants came in with R40 zoning. It's already zoned R40 on part of it, but the other is ag. That's current zoning ag. And so, Mr. Hill, even though it currently doesn't qualify to be zoned ag from zoned into that, it is that today. So that is legitimate zoning. I mean, nobody can say it's not. Now, ag, as you also pointed out, the ag side yard setbacks is 25 feet, the same as RE setbacks. And so if nothing were done, that's the state of your property, and you have every right to do whatever you can do within the regulations according to that zoning category. But you all know that. I just wanted to be sure everybody listening to this understands those particular factors. I do want to say one other thing. I had mentioned, and Mr. Jacoby or Mr. Attorney mentioned, I forget which, that they weren't aware necessarily of this, and I did talk to Mr. Jacoby today and ask about that, and he said he didn't get the first letter, and there should have been 2 letters. Well, there should have been 2. Well, what you told me was, you do have one now. It was delivered to the wrong place, and it was subsequently got to you. But the address was your address. So, we can all, we don't know what happened. Or I would postulate as being a reasonable thing that, well, maybe the postal service put it in somebody's wrong mailbox. That happens. It's happened to me, and my neighbor gets it, and eventually it gets to me. And you said somebody wrote on it, so what a lot of people do, just write, hey, it's not mine, send it back to the post office, and eventually they send it to where it needs to go. Some neighbors will, if they know you, they'll just bring it to you. I don't know why you wouldn't have got the second one, but I told you I was gonna address that with the staff. I did, made them aware. Our process is we're unaware of why it wouldn't have gone. A bunch of letters go out, you're on the list, your address is on the list, so I don't have a clue. I can only apologize to you for that, not going out. But we all know it now, and so this will be tabled, so this didn't create an issue. Everybody's going to have time to talk about it. Did I kind of hit all? I just wanted to summarize the points. So I apologize, and Bobby, you wanted to ask a question.
I got a question from Mr. Hill, the applicant, please.
Yeah.
Would you mind?
Yeah, come on.
And while he's coming up, I want to give clarity also. Well, so the reason why that is ag is because the Chans own that. They're at 6,300. That's the ag. They had that all as ag at one time. As a matter of fact, it was called Chan Estates.
Yeah.
So when did you guys buy this property?
We bought it in February of 2019. I don't have the exact date.
Okay. I'm looking at the Tarrant County Appraisal District, and for some reason, it's still in the name of Alfonso Chan and Sharon Chan. Do you know why that might be by chance?
Well, at the zoning commission meeting, we provided the new deed that had our name on it, I think.
You do have a
has
deed?
that.
Okay.
So the appraisal district, in our observation, is at least 6 months behind as far as updating the information that we attach to. So here in the next 2-3 months, it will transfer over, but we did see the document that does identify that it was transferred over, and I also did speak with the Chans, Miss Chan, and she clearly said, yes, the sale is done, and it has been sold.
And that's what I wanted to make sure that it had been done, because if you hadn't and it fell through and we made it all R40 as it was requested, then they would have the opportunity to put 2 houses in there because we'd already changed it without your plan. So I was just making sure that I'm covering my bases, and want to make sure that everything's all up to snuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I mean, what we provided was a copy of the file deed where we own the property.
Good, excellent. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. That's what I need to know.
I have a question for Mr. Hill. I believe him or his builder.
Yeah.
Either one. Stay up.
Mr. Hill.
Is there a way that you can give to us next time the trees that will be torn down if you build it the way proposed, or if it's moving it back some? Is there a way to do that?
Back forward.
I would like to know, to move it forward some, because I would like to know the trees that are going to be taken down either way. I don't know if maybe the builders who needs to answer this, because
I can on that. Do you want the proposed number of trees or the dimensions of the trees?
I'd like the number of trees.
Okay. I don't know where they're wanting the house, so I don't know how to do the observation of, because unless you're just talking about the variance of the 7-foot setback.
No, I'm talking about total.
I can give you total based on where we staked it. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Kenny's saying is what we can provide you with is based on the current positioning of the home, the trees that would be required to be removed as a result of building.
Well, he had made a statement that if it were moved any differently, it would take out a lot more trees, is what the statement was made. And so I'm just curious, if the house is moved, you were stating that that is one of the reasons why you want the variance for that. Maybe I misunderstood, but that's what I heard, was that there were less trees to be taken down with it being where you're proposing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the statement is, if the home was moved forward to within the boundaries of the current R40 zoning, a variant would not be required. But as a result of that, my builder's of the opinion that would require more trees to be removed. So that would be more of a hypothetical setting of the home. And so there's multiple hypothetical settings of the home, so I don't know how many different versions of that we would have time to prepare. I think the best approach would be to provide where we're currently considering putting the home, and then I guess maybe a view
Yeah,
of it was.
A question on that point. In this picture that's on the screen, it shows the R40 not going all the way to the northern boundary. Is that correct? Ben, you're there. And so the only reason I bring that up, I know the statement was made, and if all of that was R40, you'd have that width, but I'm not sure that house fits in that R40, actually.
I don't think that that's correct. I think it does go all the way across.
Oh, do you?
I think
Okay.
this is just a deficiency in our GIS layer.
Oh, okay.
Can we find that out for
Yeah,
sure?
I'd like to know
'Cause
the
I'm-
meets and bounds on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm not thinking
what
it is.
happened is that the R40 occurred on a tract of land.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, it was a platted lot, but for some reason it didn't go all the way over to the limits of the lot. And
Well,
I'm not sure why
I mean, that was a platted lot at one time. Now,
I
they've
think it was rezoned and
replatted.
platted at the same time.
Okay.
I think this was last year when we did this.
Yes.
I think we went through both the zoning and the plat at the same time.
Okay.
And for some reason, the zoning doesn't match what the platted lot was. And then this, what we took care of earlier this year was just amending the lot lines between
Right.
the two platted lots, the
Okay.
larger lot and this lot to create.
Okay. I guess if you don't know the answer and with the data that supports the answer, could that be
Well,
an
I'll
action
verify, but I
to
believe
do
that that's
right?
exactly the case.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be very helpful.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah.
Can we find that out for sure, Ben? Okay.
Okay. Any others? Tammy?
Well, back to the tree issue.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is how many trees are going to be taken down. That's what I'm trying to get at. If it's where you want to place the house now, as opposed to if we don't give a variance, and how many trees would come down where you would place the house then? That's what I'm trying to
I
find out.
understand. Honestly, actually, the difference in the variance is a 7 foot, is what we're talking about,
Right.
number 18 instead of 25. That difference isn't going to cause more or less trees to be removed, I believe.
Okay.
I'll check that, and then I can let you know the difference in that.
I just thought that was insinuated, that was one of the reasons, so I was just curious as to the tree. Thank you
Well,
very much.
a related question. So if you did not get the variance, would you still leave the house where it is and just make it narrower, or do you have any idea what your plan would be?
I'm not sure what I would
Okay,
do.
that's fine.
But what I will tell you
Yeah.
is the positioning of the home.
Yeah.
Given it's more in line with the home
Yeah.
south of the Jacobys and with the Chans to my north, we would probably place it in the same exact location. We would just have to modify
The plan.
the layout of the home.
Okay. All right.
Just as a curiosity, is there an opportunity for, I believe Ben had brought this up, to have a variance on the north end that is smaller and then preserve something closer to the 25 feet on the south?
Yeah, that's what I've been,
Yeah, I
that's
think-
what I've been thinking too.
I think I heard that question.
Yeah.
And in fact, before this meeting began, one item that I proposed to Mr. Jacoby was moving the home more to the north on the property, or on the variant of 15 feet, which thereby providing 20 feet on the south side. But that was a conversation that he dismissed, and he didn't find that that was acceptable.
Okay.
Okay, any
Well,
other?
was that, Mr., was that the?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it was a
effectively the
question. Could
that
you,
were
yeah,
asking?
could you slide it to the north and keep?
I mean, it seemed that would be a great compromise, providing 20 feet on the south side, but I guess the additional 5 feet was not.
Yes, you.
I also spoke with the neighbors to the north, in regards to when I was staking the house, actually the same day, and they were very pleased with the location of the house and the strategic placement and the setbacks therefore.
But they're the ones who sold you the lot too, right?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't sell me the lot.
Oh, I know because you're the
but the money
builder,
isn't
but sold
bank.
him the lot. I know who owns the lot.
But they, like, I had conversations with the lady, she came over and
Yeah.
we discussed very rationally, everything was fine, there were no problems.
Okay.
And she had no issues with it.
Yeah. City manager?
Just a question. I'm curious if those who are not in opposition are in opposition of the R40 zoning for the entire parcel, which was the original application, or just the variance with the RE? Both result in the same thing, but they're different questions.
Well, if I read the opposition, it talks about the side yard variance.
Right, but there's no side yard variance in the R40 zoning. So the reason I'm bringing it up is because if the property was all zoned R40, which was the original application, there is no need for a variance. However, the zoning of the entire parcel R40 is a concern, I think, from the city's perspective.
Right.
For future division.
Right.
But that's why I'm curious about the opposition, if the opposition would remain on a rezoning to R40, or if it's just for the RE with the variance.
Well, I can venture a guess they're going to say yes, because that's their problem. Yeah.
As we drafted the protest, it was as
Could you speak to the mic? I'm sorry.
As we drafted the protest, it was shaped according to the current issue being presented to the council, understanding that it was a RE with a variance proposal. If it were still under the original R40, then that would have been our objection to that. We would have addressed that more directly, so.
So the only follow-up question that I would ask is, what would your argument in the variance was, obviously the standards and the high threshold for a variance, what would your argument be on a zoning when your property is R20?
Well, our argument would simply be that we believe that the residential estate categorization that's been submitted and said is the appropriate one for that property.
Okay, that's a good answer for an attorney, I think.
But one item I would add is even if the setbacks on this side were denied, there would need to be a variant for the width of the property because the property doesn't qualify under the RE. So I'm assuming the same protest for a variant would.
Currently, the width is not an issue because our code provides for a lot of record of deviation, so that would not be an issue, but in the future it may be. But you're right, it is deficient on width.
Sure.
Any more questions?
I just hope you guys will take the chance to go home and cool down and decide to talk it out. I know everybody's heated over it and there's division in it, but you're going to be neighbors. So I just pray and hope that you guys will find the time to sit down, maybe have a Coca-Cola or something else and decide to figure this out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Since it's been called out that my wife was very, I'm going to use colorful, and I wouldn't repeat it either, so I'll give them credit for that.
Okay.
But just so y'all know, after this event, not that it has a lot to do with it, but she ended up passing out. She now has a concussion and a fractured tailbone, so she's been in the hospital. I just got her out, and because of the stress of this, so I don't know that has a lot of play because that can be stressful. But I thought since they called her out on her language, that it didn't hurt to at least bring this up as well. Thank you.
We hope she gets well quickly.
Our prayers are with her.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the council? So if not, I've already said that, and by the way, we've talked the whole thing, we've talked zoning and we talked variance. There's a resolution later that has to do with the variance. So since we've really, I think, talked everything out, when we get to that resolution, I'll propose that we just immediately table that because it goes along with the zoning. Is that okay? I see everybody shaking head. Okay.
Yeah, and the one person who did sign up to speak was the gentleman, same gentleman, so there are two people that signed up to speak on it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay, so the only cards we have are people that have spoken, so if everybody's good with that, we'll deal with that. It's a little bit later in the agenda, but that will be the plan. And with that, statement, I move to table ordinance O-19-2086 until the August the 20th meeting.
I'll second.
You have a motion by the mayor to table until August the 20th, second by Council Member Nakamura. Is that correct? Okay, would you open the vote, please, ma'am? And would you show it when it's ready? Okay, so that motion is approved, therefore it is tabled until August the 20th, which means it'll come off the table August the 20th. We will, it will be an action meeting, so we will take some kind of action at that August the 20th meeting, is the plan.
Will there be notifications mailed out?
Well, actually, there's no more notifications required. That's
Okay.
why we're, and we can. I mean,
I
if you
just
feel it necessary that we need to let people know, we can certainly do that.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to know that it was going back up on August the 20th, because some
Yeah.
people think it's coming up the one before it. So
Yeah, well, we can certainly send to the people that have opposed it. We can at least do that. That makes
Okay.
sense. Then they know that,
agreed.
is that reasonable? Is that enough? Is that enough?
Yeah, we can do that, it's not a problem.
Okay, so we'll send notification out to those people that have officially opposed it. So,
Perfect.
so we've spent a little time on this. That's okay. I appreciate everybody talking about it. Give us your opinions. There clearly are a lot of opinions. I tried to point out a while ago, there are some opinions that go beyond what the city can or can't do. So we will stick within the boundaries of what we can do, which is to make a decision on zoning and is to make a decision on the variance or no variance. So we'll do that. But FYI, I'm open to talk to anybody over the next couple of weeks that may want to talk or discuss this.
As am I.
As is city manager. So, okay, very good. With that, I tell you what, I need like a 5-minute recess. How about you guys?
Yep.
We're in recess, short one.
Well, I thought it was that, what about, what happened?
Starting to get concerned, saying like the nose spray kind
Oh,
of brought up with your mouth.
Those poor guys.
You know, like the actual.
Okay, I think we're ready to go. Okay, we just finished item 6A, so we will move to item 7A, which is first reading and public hearing of ordinance O-19-2087, approval of the fiscal year 2020 Colleyville Crime Control and Prevention District budget. We're ready. City manager says, don't hold us up. I'm kidding you.
Speed read.
She's getting really good at this presentation stuff.
Yeah. Miller's at home laughing right now.
Just,
Yeah, he is.
let's
Quite
not
watching.
rush the woman with the gun, okay?
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Hillary Ray, Assistant Chief of Police. This evening's presentation will provide an overview of the Colleyville Crime Control and Prevention District and the proposed FY20 budget. As you're aware, the crime district was established in 1999 by local voters for an initial 5-year period. The voters renewed the district for an additional 20-year period in 2003, and the district will be eligible for renewal again in 2023. The district is authorized and governed by the Section 363 of the Local Government Code and the Local Board of Directors. The district's funding is specifically dedicated to law enforcement and is one of the important components of our ability to maintain our status of one of the safest cities in Texas. For fiscal year 2020, I'd like to discuss the initiatives we are proposing for this year's budget request. Specifically, we are requesting a new sergeant's position in a vehicle, a new part-time accreditation coordinator position, training funding for leadership development and for de-escalation crisis intervention training, software for an investigative platform and an early warning and internal affairs management system, and a new computer-aided dispatch and records management system for the Colleyville, Keller, Southlake, Grapevine Consortium. In regards to the new sergeant position, this was added to the CCCPD budget in 2017 and projected for fiscal year 2020. This position will address the span of control issues currently experienced by the lieutenant assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division. The span of control for that lieutenant is listed here, and I want to direct your attention to the following direct reports that lieutenant is currently responsible for. There are 3 school resource officers, 1 code enforcement officer, 1 criminal investigations sergeant, 12 part-time crossing guards, 1 court bailiff, 1 warrant officer, 1 property room technician, and 1 training and personnel sergeant. Ideally, we would like to keep the span of control to around 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 7, which is consistent in patrol. And we feel like this additional supervisor, we would be able to reorganize a little and then ensure that we have adequate and robust supervision. We are budgeting for the sergeant FTE at $100,000 plus an additional sergeant vehicle, which is budgeted for $51,650. We're also requesting a new part-time accreditation coordinator position in this year's budget. The employee who managed the Texas Best Practices accreditation process for the last few years left the agency in February. In the fall of 2017, we signed on to achieve national accreditation through CALEA, which is the Commission of Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. This is a rigorous multi-year process and will take dedicated attention to accomplish and maintain. This new part-time position would coordinate both Texas Best Practices and CALEA accreditation processes, and we hope to hire a part-time employee who can go ahead and jump in and get the process going, because at this time we are actually midway in the process for CALEA. As we looked at solutions, we considered all options, including the use of sworn and civilian employees. We surveyed 13 area departments and found the majority to fill those roles with full-time employees, which were civilians, and they are dedicated only to accreditation. Some of the larger departments may have dedicated sworn employee responsible for accreditation, and a couple of the departments had options in between. In our case, we think it's not the best use of sworn resources, and we think based on Chief Miller's experience in Coral Gables, it was validated and also validated by a CALEA commissioner who came and looked at our operations approximately a month ago, and said we can make do with a part-time employee focused on accreditation only, but it will likely take all 29 hours for a week to work. We worked with HR to determine the appropriate pay level and have budgeted $27,000 for this position. Through the reclassification of an existing position and an internal promotion in our records department, we were able to save $10,000. This position would require only an additional $17,000 to fully fund. As part of Chief Miller's initial 90-day review, the team identified some opportunities to enhance training for our department. One of the opportunities identified is to focus on leadership development training for our senior staff. We are requesting $10,000 per year to fund annual training for our most senior leaders. We would like to send some of our senior staff to a school like the Police Executive Research Forum Senior Management Institute for Police. This is a 3-week-long class, and it costs $9,750 for one person, and that's just one example. And there are many other out there that designed to develop leaders and managers. We're also requesting additional funding for ongoing de-escalation and crisis intervention training for all of our sworn personnel. The training will focus on ensuring safe interactions with people in crisis and will ensure our personnel have all the tools necessary to deal with these situations as safely as possible. We're requesting $10,000 per year. We're also requesting additional funding for access to an investigative platform that will aid and provide additional capabilities to our detectives in their investigations. Access to this tool will improve their effectiveness and help in solving crimes. This subscription service costs $9,750. That's per year. And finally, we are requesting additional funding for an early warning system that helps identify officers who may be having problems and require early interventions before they become an issue to the department. Early warning systems are standard across this industry and is also required for CALIA accreditation. The system we are looking at also allows us to do internal affairs investigations. We are currently doing these investigations on paper. We're requesting $5,500 in ongoing funding for this system. A consortium of Colleyville, Southlake, Keller, and Grapevine are looking to move from our current computer-aided dispatch records management system to a new commercial off-the-shelf system. Our current system was developed and is managed by Sam Houston State University, and we all feel that we've outgrown it and we need to look at other options. The plans are to use existing funds from this fiscal year to obtain a consultant that can facilitate the requirements gathering, RFP process, and system selection process. We're estimating $50,000 for our portion of the consultant, and the City of Keller is managing this process on behalf of the consortium. All partner cities are currently budgeting for this system procurement through their individual crime districts in FY20, just as we are. Our share of the new system is estimated to be $375,000, and we're asking this funding as part of this budget. I'd like to move on to some ongoing initiatives. The fiscal year 20 proposed budget includes $1,132,589 for salary and benefits for 11 sworn officer positions. This year includes an additional sergeant position, as we discussed earlier. If approved, the total current authorized sworn staffing will be increased to 44. In addition to the new part-time accreditation coordinator position mentioned earlier, this budget also includes $48,754 in existing funding for the 2 part-time public service officer positions that we currently have. The following items have no changes from the previous year, so I'll quickly highlight them for you. Moving down the list, the proposed budget allows $49,500 to continue to fund our records management system software and its maintenance. Funding includes $5,492 for our crime reports and analytical software, along with several software maintenance agreements. And we continue to participate in the Metro Court Teen Court program at 1/4 of the regional costs, so our share is $33,750. There are a number of initiatives that are ongoing with very minimal changes, if any at all. I'm not going to cover all the line items here, but I welcome any questions that you may have on them. We will continue executing the fleet management plan at a cost of $262,650 for the purchase of the new sergeant's vehicle and the 4 marked vehicles. To save costs, we will continue to swap out equipment from the older vehicles and install in the new ones. We continue to budget $10,000 for our annual weapons replacement, and we continue to budget $6,150 for SWAT training and equipment. And as you're aware, we have a joint team called the Northeast Tarrant SWAT Team that is made up of Southlake, Colleyville, Keller, Roanoke, and Trophy Club. Several other ongoing initiatives include funding for our safety equipment to include combat gauze and collapsible rubber-based traffic cones for each of our patrol units. Also funding for a software license required for the 2 radar signs. This software allows for timely, effective, and accurate reporting and analysis for all of the data collated by our radar signs. We also continue to designate $5,000 for any complex crime scene processing or services the department might need in fiscal year 2020. One of the things you will notice is a change from last year is that we took the large facility-related capital projects out of the CCCPD budget and placed them into the city's capital improvement plan. This is a strategy from the city manager's office to better align our capital costs with the appropriate funding sources. So the Justice Center capital projects will now be in the CIP. This also is in line with their strategy to ensure the programs and services this half-sales tax funds are ones that truly touch our residents and visitors by providing tangible public safety services. One last thing I'd like to update you on. During our budget meetings with the city manager's office this year, we were able to lay out the department's needs over the next year. While we consider adding these to the CCCPD budget this year, the city manager's office was able to find current year funding sources for body cameras and will not be included in the CCCPD request. The infrastructure, servers, storage, and the storage required for body cams were already planned and procured as part of the WatchGuard in-car video system, which was completed last year. The police department is requesting permission to implement a body camera program for all Colleyville police officers. We think it's an important tool to ensure accountability and agency transparency. With your approval, we are planning an implementation for FY20 sometime after October, and the estimated cost to implement this new technology is $92,200. While this is not included in the CCCPD budget, we just wanted to keep you updated as we know this is a very important program for you. Using 5-year projections, staff has made a concerted effort to create long-term planning and forecasting for this fund and the department as a whole. Current expenditures funded by CCCPD are projected to continue. The debt will be paid off this fiscal year, FY 2019, and this will eliminate the need for the debt ratio coverage. As you're aware, our equipment, capital, and facility needs vary from year to year, and we feel comfortable with this plan and truly appreciate the spirit of cooperation we receive from the city manager's office. This budget provides the needed equipment, technology, and staffing to allow us to continue to provide the exceptional level of service our community desires and deserves. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I wanted to thank each of you for the opportunity to get to talk to you about the budget and the needs of the police department.
Very good, thank you. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Just for people that may be watching that aren't as familiar with this process, the Colleyville Crime Control and Prevention District is a fund that's, as you said, funded by a half-cent sales tax, goes into a separate fund. It has its own board that the council actually participates in, so I just want everybody to know that we've actually seen this maybe 3 times now.
Yes.
Because we're part of the board, and we see it in a work session, then we see it have to approve it at the board level, and now it's coming to the council. Council has to approve the budget for the Colleyville Crime Control and Prevention District. As you pointed out, did a good job. Strategy is changing, moving capital out of this fund and putting in more people and services so citizens can see where their half-cent sales tax money goes through the services that they get. You made a point real quick. I want to be sure people heard. That is, this year you're paying off all debt. There is no debt in this fund after 2019. So that's great. And of course, we're headed that way for the whole city, but this is one fund that got there quicker. So that's great. I'm supportive of everything you got in the budget. Any other comments?
Looks great.
I'm just glad that you showed us where the body cams were, because I kept going, where are they, where are they, where are they? So, thank you.
And we're excited about the body cams.
Absolutely.
Yes.
As our
And in case people didn't hear that, that's getting paid for out of this year's money. It's not even in next year's budget, which is what you were talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I need to open a public hearing on this. So public hearing is open. Have no cards. Anyone wish to speak on this? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. That's first reading, so no action tonight. So we'll take action at the next meeting. So that brings us to table ordinance 8A, which we will remove from the table. However, that is the zoning on the Glade Road plat. I propose that we move to item 9B first, which is a resolution, and it is a replat of that lot. So just to remind everybody, on this particular situation, there was a 17-foot strip on this property that was not under ownership when this first came in. So what's going on here is, I believe the owner has now got that acquired, and so that 17-foot strip will be platted into the lot. That's why I want to do the plat first. And then once that's done, we can go to the zoning and zone it all at one whack. So that's the plan. Everybody okay with that? Moving 9B up to this point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let me read the resolution. Find it. I've got it.
There somewhere, right?
Yeah, I usually move them up, and I didn't do that. Okay. There it is. I found it. Okay, this is reading in public hearing of Resolution R-19-4403. A resolution approving a replat for lots 1R, Block 1 of the J.M. Presley Edition, whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the replat of Lot 1R, Block 1, J.M. Presley Edition, being a replat of Lot 1, Block 1, J.M. Presley Edition, and 17.5 feet east of the lot located at 2308 Glade Road on July the 8th, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the replat for Lot 1R, Block 1, J.M. Presley Edition, attached as Exhibit A, plat exhibit, is hereby approved, and it is so resolved. Ken?
Thank you. You basically did my presentation for me, but I'll go through this real quick.
Hey, we're into moving along now,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I'm
this is-
sorry you guys had to sit here all night to get here, but.
I think they did the last time, too.
Yeah.
So this is a replat for the property at 2308 Glade Road. Here's an aerial photo of the site. The house has been removed. The intention is to build a new house on the property. It is currently zoned agricultural district. It is designated for residential, so it will conform to that designation. So this is the image that we want to look at. So it is a platted property. During the design and investigation of the property itself, they identified a 17.5-foot area that was left out from the platting process on either side of it for some reason. And so they went through the process to acquire that from the heirs from when it was originally platted. That recently was adopted or finalized. So in your packet, I guess the judgment from the county judge, I guess, to authorize the transaction occurred, and that was provided to you, as well as the deed that formalizes that ownership over to the new owner. So that is taken care of, so this authorizes us to go forward with the plat. So this would be just a replat to add that 17.5 feet into the platted lot. I do have a couple other plans that we'll look at with the zoning. We did send notices out to surrounding property owners, did not receive any responses for this. Staff recommends approval, and this did go before the Planning and Zoning Commission last week at their July 8th meeting. They recommend approval as well.
Okay, very good. At the last time we had this property on the agenda, Mayor Pro Tem recused himself because at that time you had the contract to remove the home.
Correct.
And so we wanted to ask you, Mr. City Attorney, at this point, that's been done, completed. That transaction is completely over with. You have no business relationship with the owner, the builder of this property at this point.
That is
right?
correct.
So, Mayor Pro Tem asked me at the break, okay, with that having been done and completed, is there any reason for him to recuse himself again?
Legally, Mayor Pro Tem is permitted to now vote on the item as the legal conflict has gone. Because of a prior conflict due to this item, and since this is a tabled item, he is not required under the charter to proceed to the vote, so it is up to him, though. There is not a legal conflict remaining, though.
Okay, I'll carry on.
You're good. Okay, so we'll stay up here this time.
Sure.
All right, so if no other questions, I need to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open. Have no cards. Anyone wish to speak on this item? That's the right answer. No, I'm kidding. No one wishes to speak. Therefore, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing closed. The motion is in order.
I move the adoption of Resolution R-19-4403.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve by Council Member Dodson, a second by Council Member Rigney. Would you open the vote, please? You may show it. That motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved. So we got the property platted. Now we will move back to 8A, and that is table, so I need a motion to remove that from the table.
I'll move to remove zoning case ZC 19003 from the table. Or the resolution, R1944.
Ordinance 019-2081.
2081, okay.
Good change.
Understand that
Too many
perfectly.
screens.
Okay.
I'll second.
All three.
Any of them.
Who seconded?
Councilwoman Kelly.
Okay, so, got a motion by Councilmember Kelly to remove ordinance 0-19-2081 from the table, a second by Councilmember Rigney.
Pull your speed readings down, Chuck, I'm telling you.
Because it was rolling.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
The city, Madam City Secretary, do you want us to vote manually?
I have opened the vote.
Okay.
All
very
right.
good.
Sorry about that. That's all good.
Okay, that motion's approved, so it's now off the table, and Ben can talk about it.
All right. So this is the zoning for the same property?
Yeah, I need to read the caption.
Oh,
Okay, so we're now at 8A. This is reading in public hearing of ordinance 0-19-2081, consideration of a zoning change from the agricultural zoning district to R40 single-family residential district on Lot 1, Block 1 of the Jan Presley addition and 17.5 feet along the east boundary located at 2308 Glade Road, KZC 19-003, although we just incorporated that 17.5 feet.
Yes.
And what we're going to do is zone this RE, not R40.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
The original request was for the R40 district.
Yeah.
However, with the ownership being able to be included into the newly replatted lot, they are able to, with the design of the house, they are able to meet the setbacks of the residential estate district.
Yep.
This property is a little bit over 2 acres, so it does meet the size requirement for that district. So again, the property is going to be redeveloped with a new single-family home. Again, that is the intent. So here are the minimum standards for each of those districts, but again, with the residential estate district and the addition of the 17.5 feet, they will be able to meet the setback requirements, so there will be no variance issues with this. 2.1 acres total for the overall property size. We did send notices out. There were some responses provided. I think a lot of it dealt with possible subdivision of the property. The residential estate district will help mitigate that. This did go before the Planning Zoning Commission. They recommended approval. Staff recommends approval as well.
Yep, okay, very good. So I do want to say I really appreciate the applicants and the owner going to the extra effort to get this all put in. It really cleans it all up from our perspective. It's the right zoning for this property. It resolves the concerns that people have about the splitting it up. As you heard our previous conversation, that's a concern the council had. So we appreciate that. Any other comments anyone has? Not, I'm going to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open.
No cards.
I have no cards. Anyone wish to speak? I think we're knowing where we're going. Okay, I see no one wanting to speak, so I'm going to close public hearing. Public hearing is closed. And so if there's no other discussion, I would recommend a motion to approve ordinance 0-19-2080 as a RE zoning.
I move to approve ordinance 0-19-2081 with RE zoning.
I second.
Have a motion to approve ordinance 0-19-2081 as RE zoning by Councilmember Rigney, a second by Councilmember Dodson. There's no discussion on the motion. Would you open the vote? And that motion is approved. Therefore, we now have zoning of RE on your property.
Thank you
Guys.
for saving the tree.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for saving those trees on that east side too. Those are big.
Yeah.
You guys did fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, now, okay, we're ready to go on resolution, and our agenda item 9A, and we've already said, we've really already discussed this. We just need to table this resolution, but I guess to do this right, I need to read it, and have a public hearing. Okay, so this is reading and public hearing on Resolution R-19-4402, resolution approving a request for a major variance to allow for the construction of a single-family residence into the required side yard setbacks located at 6260 Pool Road. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the variance to allow for the construction of a single-family residence to encroach into the required side yard setbacks located at 6260 Pool Road, the property, as depicted in Exhibit A hereto, is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, the south side setback shall not be less than 18 feet. The north side setback shall not be less than 17 feet. Section 2, that the resolution shall become effective immediately upon passage, provided that the variance for the property shall become effective immediately upon the conditions stated herein being fully satisfied, and it is so resolved. So, if there's no discussion, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Do I need to do that if we're gonna table this?
I do, because that way you don't.
Okay.
But they're both left ready, so.
Okay, so we do have cards, but they've walked out the door because so anybody that may have just tuned in right now, we spent probably an hour and a half discussing this earlier at the ordinance level, and so there's no need to discuss it. We've already said we're gonna table it. So I see no one wishes to speak, so I'm closing the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So I will move to table Resolution R-19-4402.
I'll second.
Okay, the mayor's moved to table, and it's been seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood. So, would you open the vote, please?
Mayor, did you want to say to specifically August 20th, or does it matter?
Well, yeah, we need to go along with the same.
Have to be the same.
Can I just say that now? Okay, so I meant to include in that motion, we're tabling to August 20th to match the ordinance that we tabled earlier tonight.
Second.
Okay, and it's approved. How's that? All right.
Sometimes you
Good
ask,
job.
so I went ahead and do it anyways.
Good job. No, good job. I appreciate you paying attention. That's good. All right, that gets us up to agenda item 10, which is citizens' comments for items not on the agenda. And I do have cards. Kathleen Hennessy.
Affirmation.
One that came up first. Me.
Kathleen Hennessy, 5013 Stonebridge Drive, again.
Hey, you guys are troopers,
Kelly.
man. Y'all
Your
hang in
time's up,
there.
sorry.
No, we're gonna give you more time. How's
I'll
that?
make it quick. Okay.
That was for you and Kathy.
Okay, we have an issue of drinking water quality in people's homes. Last week, I just went to give my dog water and to get a glass of water for myself, and the smell was very, very thick sulfur smell. This is about 11 o'clock one night. I don't know what it was, but, and I haven't experienced it since. But I have some drinking water test kits, and just little ones that you would do at home, like these. And these, when I used this test kit, it showed that there was a problem with the city drinking water. So I've got several of these kits, so I tried another one 2 days later, and by then it was okay, but I don't know what it was. So I think you only, about every 3 or 4 years, you actually go test in people's homes. And what I understand from having asked questions several years ago was that you always went to the same home every time. And I would encourage that instead that the city do more testing of drinking water. And I don't exactly know how you would do it. I'm sure you've got people that know how to do this better. But there should be drinking water tests in randomly selected homes every year, because there is leakage of contaminated water that can get into the pipes, and homeowners have no idea, and this problem will be occurring on their property, but they don't have any idea that there is such a problem. And so, this is what I worked with the families in Bedford who also had a water contamination problem, and this is what I got for them. So I'm going to give you 4 of these, and you can think about it, about a plan for every year, randomly selected homes, just checking. Because there's a long way between the city pipes and what goes on in people's homes, and they should be encouraged to check their drinking water, because it can be toxic by the time they get it.
Where did you get where do you buy those?
I believe I got it on, I'm pretty sure it was at Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Started
yeah.
on the internet. Yeah.
But the people in Bedford had problems with contaminated drinking water in the school fountains.
Yes, yeah.
You heard about that?
Yeah, there were some old lead.
OLED
yeah,
pipes.
lead pipes.
And there are a lot of OLED pipes in Colleyville as well. And it might be worthwhile checking out some of the older homes and find out if there's still any lead.
Yeah.
So here you go.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah.
Just for residents to know, if a resident's ever concerned about water quality, we can also come out and test it. And the testing
Okay.
that is done is through a lab, so it's much more
Okay.
precise. And so,
Thank you, Ms.
please, any resident concerned about water quality, feel free to call us and we'll come out and
Okay, so that's a great point. So you're saying that we as the city can provide that service as people may request it?
yes, we already provide testing as was discussed.
Yeah.
But we can provide additional testing if there is a concern by a resident or there is a suspicion of an issue. And so we'd rather have the resident call us and go out and test them through a laboratory that will provide much more detailed information
Yeah.
to allay any concerns or, in the case, to identify any potential concerns as well, so.
I would be a little more proactive than that, because many people have no idea that their water could be contaminated, and they just don't feel well, or they get a stomach ache or something like that, and it often comes and goes with contamination of water supply. It might be right after a rain, you get sometimes water going into crack joints in the pipes. And so it might be something you can schedule, or certain areas where there are there's a lot of very old plumbing. It wouldn't hurt to say, well, look, write a letter and say, your home was built before 1960. Hey, there may be, a lot of people are having plumbing, or some people are having plumbing issues. Do you want us to come and check on it? Something like that.
Yeah, we definitely come out. Just so everybody knows, the water system, the potable water, drinking water system is pressurized. And so the pressurization prevents water from coming in like stormwater. But in homes and in older pipes that are soldered, there is potential for lead. And there's always a concern that relates to backflow prevention, which is why you have backflow preventers on your fire suppression, on your irrigation systems, so that the system can't create a vacuum and suck in some of those contaminants. And so anyone who ever has any concern should call us, because our goal is to come out and to assist them and to provide testing, and also to provide explanation and/or comfort and/or suggestions. So your point is well made. Please, people should feel free to call, and it's better to call and find out there's no issue than to not call or to be concerned about it. And so we are definitely ready to
But
respond.
also an FYI for the older homes, because a lot of them don't have backflow controls. A lot of them don't. I'd say most of them don't. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Kathy Hadley?
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, represent myself. Okay, Heroes Park, when y'all were talking about that, putting the gentleman in the Heroes Park, I just want to remind y'all that I guess you have to pass away to be in Heroes Park. many veterans have just as serious injuries as a physical injury, and they live with it daily, and it's unseen. It's called PTSD.
Post-traumatic.
Yes, post-traumatic
Yes,
stress
yeah.
disorder. I'm sorry. You think they're just fine, but they have issues, and there's not. They have served their country well, and they are living with the disabling feature.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one is the geese on Riverwalk. I've said this before, I know y'all are sick of it, but they need to have some greenery and some habitat for them around that pond so they aren't going across the street to Market Street to go hang out in the bushes on that side. And, thank goodness they are crossing across Riverwalk and Bluebonnet, and I'm the first car, and I'm stopping, and everybody's behind me going, oh gosh, she's not moving. Until my mother even jumped out the car. After we sat there for a while, she hurried them across. She got them across, and here comes another group. And I know I said this last time. Please think about talking to Lisa Escobedo about putting out some plants for the geese so that they're tempted to stay on that side. Plus a ramp for that water there by the community center. Little baby ducks, they can't get out of the water. It's not like they just fly out as a youngster. There's a little ramp that they can go out. That would be really great. In several of the deeper ponds where they had the drop off. And plus that's a feature too where some child could fall in. I really wish I would take away that brick drop off and make it more accessible for animals to walk in and out to get a drink of water. I still put big buckets of water out for my wildlife in my neighborhood. And something's drinking it. I know I have raccoons and possums, but I have other stuff too. No building on the drip line, we're talking about trees. Just some way of saying like can build up to 2 feet at the trunk. No, don't build on top of the drip line. And the tree can be here, but the drip line can go out for quite a ways around it. So, don't build on the drip line of a tree. Y'all need to think about that with homes. They're being developed. And then at Colleyville Nature Center, y'all need to get on the, I'm sorry, I just went blank on what it's called, Colleyville Nature Center website and look at the birds.
Friends of the Colleyville Nature Center.
Yes, thank you. Janet Lewis Hicks has pictures of birds that are all caught up in fishing line and one with a lure in its mouth. And this is a common occurrence, it's become more common lately. So I suggested not allowing people to fish out there anymore. The few bad seas are ruining it for everyone. So I talked with Lisa Escobedo about it again and suggested we do something to help our wildlife. Get on the Friends of the Colleyville Nature Center and look at the poor birds that are all wrapped up in wire that Janet's out there saving. Here you have a resident walking around taking care of. She found a lure stuck in a tree and the line hanging down. And so she's out there and she's picking things up and picking things up and getting them so that it doesn't hurt the birds. So I suggest maybe, I hate closing it because one woman said that we moved out there specifically because my husband loves to fish. But I said, true fishermen are conscientious about what they're doing. They respect the wildlife. It's the people out there who don't care, that don't live here, that are not taking care of our space and the wildlife. So maybe a sign or something, or even a game warden, talk to the game warden, have him go out there and start asking for fishing license. You know, and I hate to, you know, part of me is like, really hates it because some father and son or mother and son, daughter, whatever, may want to go out and go fishing with just a stick and a pole, whatever, and they don't have a fishing license. I get it. You know, just they're visiting grandma and grandpa and they want to go out. So I understand. You don't have time sometimes to run out and get a fishing license, but that's just something to think about. Maybe we need to have the game warden step in till this clears up. But anyway, once again, please think about a natural habitat for our geese over there by the Colleyville Community Center, so they're not crossing the street and getting hit. I really appreciate the job y'all do. Y'all are very much appreciated, and I love the comments y'all make, and I love y'all, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sure.
I just want to comment about the geese, because I live just half a block from the geese. Last fall, we had 3 pairs of Canada geese. Well, now one pair had 2 baby geese, and another pair had 4 baby geese, and one pair had 9 baby geese. And all winter long, I fed all of those parent geese, the 6 parent geese, and all the other ducks, and sometimes 120 birds. Every night, a 20-pound bag of bird seed. And so these were very well-nourished geese by spring. So that's why you've got this great population of geese.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Now
we know.
But if you look at, you will not have to spend very much time on bug control, because those parent birds, they bring their little progeny along and they get a territory, and they eat every damn bug in that place, and then they move on. So there are many fewer mosquitoes than we usually have, because they eat the larvae when in the spring. That first crop of mosquitoes that come up from the mosquito larvae that have overwintered, because the geese are here, they're not somewhere flying back in, they're right here. And I've watched them, and they gorge themselves on those mosquito larvae. So living, as I do, just half a block from the pond that has no aerator, I really appreciate the work that the geese are doing. So thank you. Anyway, thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I actually had never thought of that.
Thanks to the Colleyville geese, right? There we go.
Very good. That's all the cards we have for that, so we do not need agenda item 11. Agenda item is 12 is adjournment, so I'm going to adjourn if there's no objection.
No objection.
See no objection, we adjourn. Thank you. Well, so much for the short meeting.
Thanks.